moisture on their roads, but nothing that should cause any adverse driving conditions, and it looks like we're clear of any accidents or slow traffic buildup to this point. As updates come in, I'll get those to you, but for now, just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm your friends.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
The electrical market requires your company to adjust to an ever-changing field. IBEW Local 22 gives you flexibility with access to journeymen, apprentices, and proven training programs. Call Bob at IBEW Local 22 for details at 402-980-7596.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the NFL or a rivalry on the hardwood, you will find all the action on Oscar's top-of-the-line audio video system. With 40 TVs and massive blue projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning sharp-up wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials, Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd West Center Road, and for takeout, 162nd and Maple.
Cross Street Brewing Company, the official sponsor of One Beer Friday on 1620 The Zone. Cross Street Brewing Company, always evolving, trying to make every year enjoyable, drinkable, and leave you asking, what are they going to do next? Join them at the original location in La Vista, downtown at their Draftworks location. Or be the hero at your holiday get-together when you bring Cross Street Brewing with you. Find out what's on tap at crossstreambrewing.com. Cross Street Brewing Company, where beer is never boring.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Hypothermia, big word, can be a big problem this time of year when on or near the water. Hypothermia is the lowering of the body's inner core temperature, and it can happen with a spill into cold water. So prevent hypothermia. Go with a partner. Wear a life jacket or a float coat. Have a spare set of warm clothing in a dry bag. And wear wool because it'll insulate when it's wet. Take care out there. I'm Greg Wagner.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Sponsored by Armstrong Pharmaceuticals.
Omaha men's basketball is back at Baxter Arena ahead of the holidays. The Mavericks and Cal Poly tip off at 8 this Saturday night, and this is one you don't want to miss. You can purchase tickets today at omavs.com/tigs.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone. Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Matt, and Jim.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Final Four Day around here. We're collectively GBR Nation. We'll look down anybody today with the Andy Jackson stare. Final Four in Louisville, Nebraska, Penn State. Did you see it against Wisconsin? She looked back.
Oh, no, I remember that. She is an incredibly nice human being off the court. I've actually had the privilege of interviewing her before when I was an intern at 1011 News. Super sweet, super nice. When she gets on the court, though, it goes. Right there. Did I do that right? Did that look good?
Yeah, very good.
Cool.
Today is the day, so later tonight, Nebraska and Penn State for a trip to the national championship game on Sunday. So we'll have plenty of that. But as we welcome you on this Thursday morning, if you did not watch the Creighton-Georgetown game last night and you only saw the score, which was 81-57, you probably said, they did what? Bad night, disaster, beat down, as Creighton got hammered last night as a 4.5-point favorite. And what makes it even worse is not only losing to Georgetown, which Georgetown had only beaten one other Big East team outside of DePaul since, 2020, 2021. You did it before a COVID appreciation night in the nation's capital, as they had a throwback and they said, you know what, let's treat this game with our crowd like it's COVID appreciation night. Very few people were there to see it, but a lot of people saw that score, and Creighton is in not a good place right now after they got hammered last night, 81-57. People are going, they did what? So it's supposed to be the other way around? Georgetown 9-2.
I
now 7-5.
I saw Jaden Epps play at Illinois. That was 2 years ago. So that would have been my sophomore year of college. I have a lot of buddies who go to the University of Illinois, and you see that he transferred. He played a decent role on that team. He wasn't necessarily a superstar, and they were really good that year that he was playing. And I remember all of them told me when he left, they were like, damn, like that kid is going to be something. That, like, we lost him there. And it's very rare, I think, in this portal era, when you lose a young guy like that, especially with Illinois, a team who gets so many young dudes to play at a very high level, and you're like, dang, we lost a dude there. He was a dude last night. He's going to be a dude in the Big East. I mean, credit to Georgetown and what they're doing and the turnaround that they've undergone. And as much as Creighton played terribly yesterday, Georgetown played really well.
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out about this game. So Creighton is wildly inconsistent, and last night just continues to expose without Pop Isaac your roster creation. You're not able to have multiple guys that can create offense. I think. Georgetown is 9-2, and that's great. And maybe they're turning the corner, and that would be good for all the college basketball, especially the Big East. So I might wait to say, are they good? I mean, 9-2 is 9-2, and Georgetown has had some pickups. But I will say this: in terms of their talent, they are better than I think the recent stretch of teams that we've seen from Georgetown when they played Creighton. So PD and F is nice too. Like PD is long down defender. He's a playmaker. He was great last night. And then Sorber, who I waxed poetic about yesterday, was good for a freshman. Wasn't great.
No,
it was okay.
He was hacking a little bit. I mean, he had a lot to deal with Carl Carter.
But that's a bad. Not only did you have it before a COVID drought, the game was on CBS Sports Network, which doesn't treat Big East basketball as well as the Fox family. But last night just further pointed out that the roster gets exposed when you have teams that use Nebraska's defensive game plan. And then you have, at times, you don't have much of a bench. You don't have really any contributors outside of Ashworth Kalkbrenner and then Jackson McAndrew, who is going to be a dude. But that was embarrassing last night.
I have two notes here. Shout out to Ed Cooley. Heck of a game plan from him. And like you mentioned, they stole a lot from Ed Hoiberg and his staff and what they did. Ryan Kalkbrenner didn't get a 2-point basket until the second half. I mean, when that happens, you know that Creighton is struggling offensively. He had 6 points in the first half, both came off 3-pointers. Second thing is, you bring up the bench, it's a heck of a point. The bench cannot score a point for Creighton until 11 minutes left in the game. They went 29 minutes of play before getting a bench point. And when I watch this Creighton team without Pop Isaac, I think you're quickly reminded, and I'm gonna go back to NBA examples here. when you have dominant big men like Ryan Kalkbrenner, the best way to support them is through guard play and having good ball handlers. You go back to 1994 with Hakeem Olajuwon, right? What? Why are you laughing?
No, this is going to warm Jimmy's heart.
But I mean,
Jimmy's the 90s NBA. That's actually what the NBA should go back to if they want to help the radio.
You go to the 90s, like that team was a 3 seed in the Western Conference. They acquired Clyde Drexler, right? And they get him as a great player and as a great scorer. But then you also had Sam Cassell. You had Rob Rory. You had Sam Mack. You had. Well, I'm saying around Hakeem is what I'm saying. Like, you have Hakeem, but then you have Cassell and Mack and Kenny the Jet Smith and Drexler who can spread the floor and support him. You look at Shaq. Shaq was a dominant big man, but everywhere Shaq went and everywhere Shaq won, he had a point guard, a dominant point guard or a dominant shooting guard around him. Penny, Kobe, Dwayne. So it's like, when you have a guy like Kalk, you need an elite guard play. And I like Stephen Ashworth, and I think he's a heck of a player, but you're putting way too much on his plate when Pop Isaac is out.
Yeah, I mean,
why didn't Rodman guard Sean Elliott game 1?
Wow.
Wide ass open, or not Rod, Ori. You can guard Ori. Ori hit the jumper in game 1. Great PTSD.
When you're 3-5 against quad 1 and quad 3, and Matt comes on the radio and puts Creighton and the Houston Rockets 94 in the same sentence, I don't know how I should feel. I mean, it's like a multiple personality disorder here.
Well, I'm saying that's what they need, though. And it's like, I'm going to be honest, I think Jemiah Neal is a really good athlete, but the success of this Creighton Blue Jays team is going to be dependent on his development and his play, because that's the guy they're looking toward in order to be the next. Not the next Pop Isaac, but fill that Pop Isaac role. And when him and Ashworth combined for 8 assists and 6 turnovers, that just goes to bad offense.
They are what they are. They don't have really anybody outside of 2 guys on the floor that can create shots. Or they don't really have a lot of creation, so they're shooting bad timing threes. Like, I don't have a problem with them shooting threes, but the timing of in the middle of a shot clock or early in the shot clock, they have some bad shot selection. But let's just be honest. Last night they got outplayed. Okay, in every aspect, they are less athletic, they are less physical, and they have to be on point almost every night. Now, if they had the same kind of effort that they had against UNLV and Alabama, maybe they don't win that game, but they don't lose by 24. No. And they may have to morph, if they can do this, into a team that is built on rebounding, that is built on defense, and that has a better handle on not turning the basketball over. If they can find those things and slow the game down, then maybe they can keep their head above water. I mean, it's game 1 of the Big East season, but they're not in a great place right now, and Villanova on Saturday becomes a must-win game. Back to Kalkbrenner. So Kalkbrenner only had 10 points last night. And, when the Nebraska plan was to surround Kalkbrenner, make guys hit threes. Didn't happen. Nebraska wins that game. Last night they did the same thing, but when you take Pop Isaacs out of the lineup, which really now, I mean, the KU win gets devalued.
Oh, big time.
Because he's gone.
Big time.
Is you could play Creighton right now until anybody else steps up. You can take 3 guys and defend 2 guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have 3 other guys on the floor that are defended by 2 guys. I don't know if what your math skills are, but that's not a good combination. Sure. But that's where Creighton is right now. But Kalkbrenner, there's part of me that looks at him and goes, wow, he has underperformed. And he has also been underutilized. Last night, early in the game, they started by going inside to him. And then what happened is 3, clank, 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 clank. And the next thing you know, it's a close game, but you feel like Georgetown is about to turn the corner. Now, they were not blowing them out at halftime. It's over in the second half. But I think Kalkbrenner is underutilized, and they have to find a way, not only for guys on the floor, to create shots with creation, but also they're going to have to whiteboard some stuff up to help that offense.
There's at times that you could argue that Kalkbrenner needs to be more of an alpha, that he needs to be more dominant, that he needs to put a shoulder into people more often. At the same time, you can say, maybe that's asking a little bit too much, because the tape's out there. I mean, any coach who is going to play Creighton down the line is going to play them exactly how Nebraska did and exactly how Georgetown did. They're going to put a lot of bodies on Kalkbrenner. They're going to pressure him. They're going to try and get him to pitch out of the paint. And so it's like I said, it's a lot to ask for him to do. And sometimes I question it's just big men in general in this day and age, not only in just college basketball, but in the NBA. It's very difficult for them to take over a game, for them to close out the game because of just the fact that look, when you have a 3-point shooter and he's on a roll, like that kid at North Dakota yesterday against Alabama, there's almost nothing you can do, right? They're going to hit shots regardless. There's a little bit more you can do when you have guys dominant in the paint, which is why I bring up the 94 Houston Rockets, and you can bring up a ton of other teams in the NBA and college basketball where it's so important to have the spacing around the court when you're playing with a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner. And so now that they've lost the spacing, they've lost the effectiveness of what he can bring, because part of what he brings is dominance around the rim and ability to score, but also ability to pitch it out.
I don't know. They're in a weird place right now. They're not a tournament team. They're just very inconsistent, but there are flashes where, they've shown against UNLV and Alabama without Isaacs that they can make plays. It's just their margin of error. I mean, Mac didn't run away from it. Their margin of error is so small that an off night where they're not physical and they don't have a ton of athleticism, and then Neal, who I don't know, needs a compass when he gets to the rim, it snowballs. And you get beat by 24, and you're like, they did, and that's what happened last night. They're going to have Nebraska's metrics. I mean, come on.
You briefly said it.
For Jays.
You briefly said it. They need to undergo an identity change. I'll ask you this.
Or trade the fly dress.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, save the 95 Rockets.
That was good. That was a good one.
We got Rudy Tomjanovich.
Don't ever underestimate the heart of a
team. Is it?
Is Billy Paul still playing?
I bring up the 90s and that's just a snowball effect of just jokes and references. Hey, I like it. That was great.
There's a lot more.
Is that too much to ask of Mac? For them to go from hey, we're going to dump it in, we're going to space it out, we're going to score 80 to 90 points a game, and then we're going to play disciplined defense, to now with, hey, we got to be almost like a Big Ten team. We got to be physical. We got to be rebound. We have to play hard and fast defense. Is that too much? I think that might be too much to ask at this point in the season.
Well, I think the question is, do they have the grit to be a defensive-minded team?
You look at this roster, I don't think so. And I don't think they have the size either.
It's kind of scary.
Because you're asking Stephen Ashworth to play just a different, like you're asking more out of that guy, which I don't think, they're asking a ton from him. Now you're asking him, hey, you got to up your level of intensity on defense now too, as opposed to just being the primary ball handler on this team. Yeah. And, Creighton plays some great basketball. It's weird. Stephen Ashworth's almost like a guy where it's like the more points he scores, you're getting a little bit worried about the state of the team, because he's a guy who facilitates lots of things, and he may not necessarily get the assist every time, but when they're playing their best offense, he's initiating everything. Yeah. When you're asking him to score too much, you're kind of asking him to get out of his element.
Yeah, last night watching that game, that is a little startling because it's not a very good team.
Majorly.
That's not a very good team for Creighton, and you don't see that. You have not seen that addition of Creighton basketball under Mac. And it's startling to see Georgetown easily rip the ball out of hands of guys. It just
Peavy, man, he was something. I'll give him a slight break though, because I did say yesterday, I did feel that this was a trap game. I did feel that with all the stakes that had led up to the game, the injuries, the results, the tough games, the tough matchups that they had played, the fact that they had beaten Georgetown so much over the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden with Ed Cooley that jumped in terms of talent and play now, being on the road, that atmosphere really didn't attribute to a ton of their play.
I could hear the play calls.
Yeah. I could hear it from
that was just that.
I could hear it from the radio sometimes.
I know the DC sports market, and it's an NBA arena, and that's
they can do better. That's Georgetown.
That's Bishop on the TV broadcast.
That was Georgetown.
Yeah, that's
La Jolla's. That's a
crowd. So that was 6:30 local time. That's an embarrassing crowd. If I'm Ed Cooley, and I just pulled off the biggest win I've had at Georgetown in 2 years, because they're now 66th in the Ken Palm. That's the highest that Georgetown basketball has been since March Madness of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
by the way, March Madness.
My crowd isn't showing up. I mean, come on, Georgetown. It's been that way. It's been sleepy. I would hope that they respond and like, we might have something here.
Sure.
That's embarrassing. That's bad. That's not what Georgetown basketball is.
That's like having 25,000 people at a Memorial Stadium Husker football game when you really think about it. Because that's a team who, much like Nebraska football, was dominant in the 80s and in the 90s. And it was a historic, at one point, until this last decade, you could say they're a blue blood program. I mean, they were pretty close to it.
Did you just take away Nebraska football's blue blood status?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say.
I'll say this.
I need to protect you there. You might get the army of...
No. Nebraska football's won Big Ten conference games over the last couple of years. You know, this Georgetown team, their fall has been way greater than Nebraska's.
All right. Coming up on the show, Steve Sipple will stop by. We'll be doing some portal and talk. The portal giveth, the portal taketh away. The portal gives you hope, and then it gives you despair. And all of that happened yesterday for Nebraska. Sipple Jonas coming up at 8:30. Also, believe it or not, I'm floating on air. We're going to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl. The Pinstripe Bowl. You know what? There is more excitement for the Kansas City Bowl on the New Heights podcast than there is for the Pinstripe Bowl. The New Heights podcast, they talked about the Cincinnati-Nebraska matchup and Patrick Mahomes. Dylan Raiola. That got more. That has gotten more run than the Pinstripe Bowl. But Trevor Haas,
people are excited.
When you reached out to Trevor from the Boston Globe to join the show to talk about Boston college football, did he go, "Do you have the wrong number?"
Yeah.
Huh.
So are you trying to get a hold of Bob?
He'll join us coming up at 9, and then Brian Edwards stops by at 9:40. That's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys of John Higgins. Weather God again, Nebraska, Penn State tonight, Final Four. This is where the collective GBR nation gets together, and they hope they just crush Penn State. They have the hopes and dreams of the entire state behind them. Also, we are on the eve of the playoff. As Notre Dame and Indiana get ready for their Friday showdown and another great night in college basketball.
I'm more excited for Indiana Notre Dame than I am Tennessee Ohio State.
Does that have anything to do with what's on the board there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right. That's a bias. That's a Midwest bias statement from me.
So in order to see this, we need them to win and play Georgia.
I'd prefer they lose on Friday.
Okay, so you have them losing.
But I've set them up. This is a win-win for me because now I've put the stakes in a way where I can root against Notre Dame and have some skin on the line for their next two games. So even if they beat Indiana, I can look forward to the ass whooping that they will have against Georgia.
Anybody afraid that Indiana's going to get exposed?
No.
Okay.
I think they're good. Like I understand.
I'm going to cry if they're exposed now.
I understand the pushback on the Ohio State game.
There was also the Michigan game. So the two teams that had played that had winning records.
So I'll say with the Michigan game, that was self-inflicted and that was bad. And I was watching that game and they were in control of that game and they were just hurting themselves. But you're going to have that. Like Oregon had that against Wisconsin. Yet no one has any lack of faith again for Oregon and their ability to win the national championship.
I think because Oregon had Ohio State on their ledger.
That is true. But I'm just saying in general, the game of football, you're going to have those just bad games against bad teams that it's going to get way closer. Heck, if we're being honest, Ohio State had that against Nebraska. So just that happens. I'll push that to the side a little bit because I think that's just football. Indiana against Ohio State, that was tough. But I think they've done a great job bouncing back from that. They needed to go and beat Purdue by 60. Like that was a win they needed, not for the committee or anyone else. They needed that for themselves to prove that they're still the dudes.
Since Northern Illinois, they've hammered people. Here's one thing.
They have hammered.
If I'm the Indiana perspective, and I like what Cignetti did, because I think he deserves credit for the roster scramble. And it's remarkable that they were able to do a roster scramble and get to where they are. I don't know if it's repeatable. We're going to find out. A lot of people have doubts, but we're in 2024. They made the playoff. That's all that matters. Indiana's never done that. No one ever had Indiana being in the playoff before the beginning of the year. Here's what worries me about Indiana when I say, will they get exposed because they're playing a team with a winning record and a good team. Notre Dame against teams that had a winning record this year, 6-1. They ran the ball for over 6 yards per carry. In those two games, Michigan and Ohio State, 1.8 yards per carry for Indiana. And in a game that probably will be more on the ground than through the air from Leonard and Rourke, that worries me if I'm like from an Indiana perspective.
Now, from a Notre Dame perspective, their offense
isn't totally invested in Jeremiah Love and Riley Leonard in their run game, but it's a massive part of it. And you could argue that they're a team a little bit like Indiana with Lawton and Ellison, that they are effective through the air and their offense is best when their run game is at its peak. The Indiana run game, give them credit. Their run defense this year also has been elite. So I think look, you look at the stats. I've watched both these teams play. Obviously, you're going to give the blue chip advantage to Notre Dame with the talent that they have. But I think it's two teams who are built pretty similarly. Like they are in terms of the defense. I think Indiana's stronger on the front end than they are on the back end. Notre Dame has been stronger on the back end than they have been on the front end. But they're both elite defenses with two good quarterbacks. I give the edge to Rourke in that case. I give the edge. I give the edge, though, to Love against Ellison and Lawton. I think on the outside, both teams have some good wideouts. It's a very even matchup. And so I say tongue-in-cheek that Indiana is going to hammer Notre Dame. In all seriousness,
That's what you're making it personal. You want to win.
Absolutely.
I get it. That's okay.
I absolutely.
That's okay.
But from a looking forward into the actual matchup,
You're worried. You're worried.
But I'll say this too. Like,
you don't like the fact that Notre Dame is plus 16.
Who's
takeaways?
Notre Dame
Special teams could be a disaster for Indiana.
So that's what I worry about, because that's what it was against Ohio State.
14 points against the Buckeyes.
I know, and you can't do that. And that's why I was saying, like, I get people why they're worried about it, but like you take away and that's, I mean, it's a BS statement for me, because I'm going, you take away the special teams errors, it was a 28 to whatever
Keep giving
game.
me some BS. Let's go.
But all that to say,
spew it. Come on, boy.
You go Notre Dame.
Go to the whip.
You go Notre Dame as hammer teams. Well, so is Indiana. Indiana's hammer teams. And I would go as far to say that Indiana, they're playing a Big Ten schedule. Notre Dame's playing an ACC / their everyone's our rival type schedule, where I would say that I don't know what the actual strength, I haven't seen the actual strength of schedule numbers, but both teams are playing pretty similar competition. Granted, Notre Dame beat Texas A&M, so give them all the credit in the world in that regard. But they played similar competitions, and they both hammered opponents.
What's our bet?
Lunch, us three, and then a listener. You've brought up taking a listener.
Okay, so then you have the next week that Notre Dame, if they win, won't score a point against Georgia.
Yes, but is that a bet on? If it's on the board, is it a bet, or is it that's just on the board?
Let's turn it into a bet. Mm-hmm. Would you like to turn it?
No,
into
I don't want to. Whoa! I don't want to turn that into a bet, because like that's a.
But you space it out, so you can do it.
I'll do a
spread.
I'll do a spread bet with you, Georgia Notre Dame.
Oh, so you got Notre Dame already making it.
If they win. Hey, we're talking about future bets here. I'm not going to make a bet that Indy's going to get shut out. That's a bad bet. And I've already made a bad bet with Vikings and Bears. You can't.
But see, when you put it on the board here in the studio, that lives a long time.
No. That will be up there in infamy. Like, I assume Odson wrote
I still wonder
Freddie
if Freddie
Freeman
Freeman's
will
gonna
retire as a Brave.
Yeah.
Like, he's got this will be I will put my name on it if it's wrong. And I will put my name on it
if it's
right.
Check on Shape to see if he's ever run out of gas. That's been there since I've been here.
Who? Freddie
Shape.
Freeman? Oh, Shape?
No. But yeah.
We
So
do.
is Freddie Freeman.
Have you ever run out of gas? Have you?
In a car?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. I used to have
How?
I mean, how?
How do you let that happen?
Well, when you don't have a lot of money when you're in college and you try and squeeze. Probably 2 or 3 times I ran out of gas.
What?
Yeah.
3 times?
Yeah, I'm with Matt here.
That's embarrassing.
I mean,
I get it if it happens once. From your perspective, you're putting $5 in the tank every single time. You're going a gallon. You're living gallon to gallon, right? Would you rather have money for the double vodka sodas or money for the petrol to go in your tank? I get it, but 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
How much was gas back in the day, too? I mean,
that was probably $10. You don't remember those days?
No,
89 cents a gallon.
We had lines. You'd go and pick up your cheese and bread, and then you'd go get your gas.
All I grew up hearing.
Will tell you everything's okay.
I was working. I was making bombs.
I
was in the mill.
All I grew up hearing my whole life was back in my day with 79 cents a gallon.
Bulls were on WGN.
God, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't even remember what the gas was.
79 cents a gallon. That did happen summer of 2001. What a great time it was.
How do you remember?
Where
that?
were you at?
I was about to say
San Antonio.
79 cents?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, keep in mind we're a little closer to the
I was
refinery,
about to
so
say.
every time I go home, it's a little bit cheaper gas.
I was about to say they're by the carcinogenic coast over there. So
Yeah, all people with frosted tips. Yeah, puka shell necklaces.
Spring Breakers and Jimmy.
don't go to Galveston.
Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, good morning. Good Thursday morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning to the group of fives. They're 2-0 against Power 4 in bowl games. Unfortunately, late last night, if you stayed up to watch, that game went on forever. The Iowa Western Hutchinson game on ESPNU went on forever, like a 4-hour game. And Hutch ended up beating Iowa Western, came down to the final offensive play for the Reavers, and they lost 28-23, and they're shot at a three-peat.
Damn. Now they had to drive back all the way from Canyon.
Did they bus?
I would guess so. I mean, Josh always made it sound like that's what they do, or at least they drive for sure. But I don't know about the team. But that is not a fun drive.
Hey, that stadium looked great. Did you watch the game?
I did not. I'm going to say right now, I had a hell of a setup last night. I had a hexabox going. I had 4 college basketball games on the TV, 1 football game on the computer, another game on my phone.
Nice.
I know, it was awesome.
The stadium at the Division II school looked great.
Yeah.
Good. I did see some pictures. I saw Odson
some money
celebrating
out
in the
there.
box and whatever and the binoculars, but that's awesome. JUCO, man. I don't know if this is where you were going, but what a hell of a legislation put down yesterday. You see that?
Yeah, I think it's just for one person, but it may open the door to much more of anarchy.
Too much anarchy.
Well, welcome to college football news. It's exhausting.
It couldn't get any weirder.
All right, here is Nebraska Ball Mike to kick off the morning on the 42 Degrees Source hotline. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Can we talk about a good basketball team now?
Let it rip.
A couple of things. One,
Okay.
Can somebody give me the rundown of the tournament in Hawaii?
You're going to have to get a grandpa nap in because there's a lot of late night viewing.
Okay.
Murray State coming up on the 22nd. You fired up for Murray State. Steve Prohm had a great run at Murray State with Ja Morant. Went to Iowa State, didn't work out, came back to Murray State. Excuse me?
As long as Ja Morant's not playing the game, I think we have a chance.
That is true.
Yeah, they'd be in trouble.
Yeah, that would be, well, in this day and age, NCAA, who the hell knows? It's unlimited eligibility. He could come back and play in college, but he will not be there.
So who else are we looking at?
Well, Loyola of Chicago would be in the final, but Loyola of Chicago has been decimated by injuries of late.
Okay. So
Realistically, if Nebraska is who we want to think they are,
yes,
they go 3-0.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why isn't that?
I'd take 2, but if we can win this thing, we can win this thing.
Yeah, I don't think you want a hiccup though, because there's not
No,
really
you
not
don't,
really a
but,
loss that would
no.
be like, oh, you know what? That's a Fran Fraschilla bad loss, but a good loss.
I have a not so random question, given it's me.
All right, random Nebraska ball, Mike.
I've watched a couple of basketball games this year, and I've seen one coach on the sidelines. There's an assistant coach for us that has part of his arm missing.
That'd be Nate Lesnar.
The defensive specialist.
Yes.
That's amazing. I don't know what happened to him, but that's an inspirational story for a lot of people. And more people need to be talking about him.
We don't want more people talking about him because he does not need to leave to go get a head coaching
I was about
job.
to say. I was about to say.
He is a fantastic addition to
when I
that
saw
staff.
That, I was like, all right. One of my favorite teachers in junior high was a big basketball fan, and she got as active as she could on the basketball floor with us growing up. So it's always fun to see somebody who had challenges growing up like that.
Yeah, so Nate is a fantastic coach, and he has been. When Fred flipped his staff, adding Nate, who he has history with the Bulls, was not only a smart move coaching wise, but if I'm a player and I look at what Nate goes through every day, that he said, I don't have a prosthetic arm. He has battled adversity, doesn't consider it a drawback. We'll talk about why he doesn't have part of his left arm, but it's not a story. The story that is Nate Lesnar. Nate Lesnar is a really good dude that loves the University of Nebraska and coaching, and his forte has been defense. So yeah, great story all the way around, but it's not something Nate draws attention to because he doesn't want to be known as that.
I didn't hear about it. You have to see it to look. you have to look for it, and if you don't know.
Can I just
then
ask
you
a question, Mike?
You don't know.
Mike, you watched Nebraska basketball. Nate didn't just show up yesterday.
Well, I mean, it's the first time I've seen him in how long has he been on staff?
21 was his first year?
Yeah. I think it was the Vandamel.
I've not been paying attention then.
Yeah.
On me. But that's incredible. Good for him.
Hey, here's another thing. And I know for people that know you, Mike, you have your challenges as well. Nate played 4 sports in high school.
That's
good for him.
Well,
I'll definitely pay attention to him now.
Yep.
Like, I'll be following him.
Well, maybe we'll set up a meeting between Coach Lesnar and you being a big Nebraska basketball fan.
Wouldn't mind that down the road.
Okay.
As far as the volleyball game go, volleyball Final Four look, Pittsburgh, you're borrowing number 1. We've been number 1 all year. These girls are on a mission, and it's not going to be you. Okay? If it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Louisville. Nobody else is going to be capable of beating this team right now. You better be at home, and you better play the game of your life. Because nobody else, I have never seen a team buzzsaw somebody else like they did Wisconsin on last Sunday.
Yes.
They freaking 8,000 people standing up. You might as well put 15 in there. And this team is on a mission. And if they're capable of beating anybody right now.
Yeah, if they play like they did against Wisconsin, there is no doubt. All right, Mike.
Matthew, quit giving Indiana credit for anything.
I'm sorry, Mike. It's more so to do with not liking Notre Dame than it is loving Indiana.
I can agree with that.
Thank you.
But they didn't play anybody, even us. They didn't play anybody. The non-con was garbage.
Well, Notre Dame.
They played
Notre Dame went through a buzzsaw.
Mike, Indiana played the schedule that was in front of them, and they navigated. They might be the weakest team in the field of 12, but they won games.
Agreed. We could have won 9 with that schedule.
We're not doing the what if game, Mike. we're doing the reality. Is that Nebraska was 6-6.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good holiday. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah.
Gotta cover all the bases.
Got to be careful here. People are out, like the woke society. The HR will come down and say you can't say Merry Christmas on the air.
Thought you were.
What if they did that to us?
How dare we say Merry Christmas?
I would say.
How dare we?
I would say I hope you have a wonderful Merry Christmas there in the human resources world.
Mm-hmm. Hope you
God,
you
got.
I think Merry Christmas is back, right?
I think so.
I think it's back.
Is HR the worst job to have in society nowadays? Right now, I mean,
Mike Rowe did a show about some bad jobs a long time ago.
I mean, look, well, to be fair, shout out our first responders. That will always be the toughest job, putting their lives on the line, and I respect and love every single one of them. But in terms of corporate America, HR has got to be the biggest pain in the ass, right?
Shout out Toby Flenderson.
I may say being the CEO of a healthcare company right now may put you in a weird spot.
Touche.
Yeah, don't make any grievances against Super Mario Brothers characters.
I don't know why you get into the human resources world.
Neither do I. I have a friend, and I ask her all the time why she did it.
Well, the benefits are, I don't know.
Just seems like
she's probably
you
listening
deal with
right
stuff
now.
you don't want to deal with.
Why just put that on yourself? Why deal with other people's problems and have to be considered the savior of happenings that shouldn't be happening in your company?
In this company, we had so when I first started, the human resources director, she had been here for a while, and then like about 4 years in, she left, and then we used our farm system at KLIN to go get our human relations person who was actually the HR person at KLIN when I was working at Broadcast House.
Oh, wow.
And then Wendy was here for a while. And I think she went back to Lincoln. She was a Lincolnite that was commuting to Omaha.
I gotcha. Steve Anderson became the HR guy at KLIN, and that was a joke in itself. Love Steve, but...
Do not know Steve. Do we know Steve, Jimmy?
I do not.
Great guy. The best guy, Steve Anderson. But he's like, You talk to Steve after a while, and it's a little bit of a tornado, and then like you may it's just funny. He's if you got to know Steve,
is he
it's funny.
full-time HR or is he like do other things?
He's the business manager, but then he's considered
Yeah,
HR.
I think that's what they dropped on Wendy when she was here. She was the business manager, and they're like, you have to be HR.
Yeah, that's what Steve is. He does a good job. He obviously does a good job over there. He's the
I think we do a good job here of policing ourselves.
I think so,
I think
too.
the sexual harassment from some of the females over on Sweet 98 to us on the zone has been lessened.
I'll tell you this
We
right
treat
now.
each other well now on the zone.
I've been treated with utmost amount of respect from every single person in this building except for my co-host. So that's I'll take that.
Thought this was going somewhere else.
Jimmy, ask your wife about this kid.
No.
I'm already a pain in the butt to a lot of people here.
Yeah, she's married to me, so she lacks a filter.
Already causing problems. Haven't even been here 9 days yet.
You're feeling the things out.
Meeting Kellyanne yesterday was a great time. That
Shout
bag
out
of pretzels,
Kellyanne.
by the way, is like nearly gone. I'm on a diet too. Like I'm
Not
trying
anymore.
I'm trying to lose some weight. Like I'm at a decent, but I'm trying to, get a little bit more leaner. That thing set me back about a week.
That's why I don't go to the tailgate as much.
Is
in
that why?
Lincoln or at the College World Series? Yeah, because you don't leave, and next thing you know, you're about 6 beers in, and you're a plate of food, and you're like, oh my God, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, I'm usually doing the game, so then you stumble in the booth.
Then you're like, it's time to take a nap. I'm like, can I crawl underneath the table and get in the fetal position and nap for a bit?
How many games do you announce in the College World Series in the span of the
good
2
number?
weeks?
I don't.
Yeah, that's a
lots.
lot.
Yeah,
just we spend a lot of time down there. Speaking of that place, I was by there last night. It's not utilized very much for anything. So once the College World Series is over, there's really nothing that goes on there except some corporate events up in the suite club level.
Sure.
Oh, there were no concerts this year.
There was. That's
Pink
true.
decided not to show up.
Motley Crue didn't come back.
Why don't they do something like a winter festival?
Oh,
why don't they do something with lights and I don't know, Top Golf or something? Why don't they utilize that for more than just baseball? Like that, I know that a lot, it triggers a lot of people, but why don't they turn that place into a holiday market? It's just sitting there, like there's festive lights all around, and there's just this dark, gigantic 26,000 seat cookie cutter stadium. Why don't they do something during Christmas? I would think like a holiday market, have some fake snow, have some lights, have some sledding, build like a ramp off the top level of the 200 level all the way down to the field.
Ooh.
Like you could do some toboggan.
Did you
make some money? Mecca likes money.
Were you in Chicago when Wrigley did it? When they had their,
I've seen the pictures.
Their winter. I went.
Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure they're doing it again this year. I haven't seen as much. I'm not certain. I thought maybe they weren't doing it again. Look, I totally agree with you. Go, but make a nice little ice rink in the middle of the diamond, or like Fenway.
Ooh.
Like
we had that before, and North Dakota fans took over the stadium.
Yeah. Fenway does the golf. Like you can hit.
Yeah.
My dad's done that before. Where you go and you golf and you hit like balls onto Fenway Park. Like it's really cool. I don't know. It's just a really big space that gets used. 2 weeks out of the year? Now, granted, it gets used to the highest degree.
For now, Creighton baseball plays there, so
yeah,
you give them 2 months of their season.
Are Storm Chasers games are they like fun?
Fun? Yes. Shout out Marty.
I would.
Shout out
I'm
Happer
going to go to a lot of
and the
Storm
Scooters
Chasers
mascot.
games. I might become a closeted Royals fan,
but they're out. They're out in the burbs.
Yeah.
Storm Chasers.
Yeah.
Great ballpark though.
I thought they were
have
playing
tickets.
at Schwab. I thought they played at the.
No, they have their own park out in Sarpy County at Warner Park.
I didn't know that. I thought they played at Joshua Stadium. That's on me then.
I think we should have a holiday market.
I totally agree.
I think we should have fake snow.
Chris Crindle Market. Have you ever been into the Chris?
I am
Kindle?
familiar with that, but I have not.
Okay, I'll tell you something right now. For the people in Omaha who have a wife or a girlfriend or a family, and you're heading out to Chicago, that is the place to be because you're in a Daily Plaza. It's one of the best spots in the Loop. You're right on Randolph and Clark area. I mean, beautiful restaurants, great bars. You go to the market. I mean, you can make a whole day out of it.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
There's Christmas tips.
Still hitting
if you
that
want to
peak
drive
class.
6 hours away, or go to the Christmas store in the old market. And
Hey,
you can have Christmas
there are a lot
any
of-
time of the year.
I'll tell you something right now. New York's overrated when it comes to Christmas. Chicago Christmas, man. Chicago Christmas is legit.
Chicago needs a bowl game. That's
It's
what I hear
legit.
from this.
That's what I
we
just
don't.
had to take away there from.
No, we don't.
You might be onto something.
No, we don't.
Outdoors, Soldier Field.
I mean, that
Ditka Bowl.
Think about it.
That might be the highest quality football played at Soldier Field all year if we had a bowl game there.
All right, a little bit later, Steve Sipple stops by and Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. All right, last night in D.C., Creighton's offense did not have any even flow. Shout out Mike Stibbs. Hello, Pearl Jam. I don't know anybody that's as big a fan of Pearl Jam than Mike Stibbs, who I saw was in yesterday. He was co-hosting with Josh.
Oh, yes. Bishop wasn't here. Yeah. Makes sense.
Nice. If you
haven't had the honor,
you will probably get to meet Stiblitz.
I did hear him though. I do listen to the other shows here on the station, and I saw him. He's good. He's good. He's good at filling in. He's good at his job. I haven't had the honor. No, looks like the type of guy I'd get along with though. I think I get along with most people.
Yeah,
thought you were going to say that show's not for you.
No,
and you look in the rearview mirror.
No.
Pearl Jam.
Guys, I'm gonna be real with you. Is Pearl Jam? Oh my God, I'm gonna kill I'm gonna get myself into trouble.
It's nothing as it seems.
I'm gonna get myself into trouble here.
All right, just give it to us. We are fans of Pearl Jam around
Spin the
here.
black circle.
Is that Eddie Vedder?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Woo. I met Eddie Vedder. I think every fan, every Cubs fan who went to those games from 2015 to 2019 at one point met Eddie Vedder and John Cusack. Cusack seats and my seats when we had season tickets were like very, very close to each other.
Now we're naming Pearl Jam albums on the stream. All bangers.
So it's on my list to see, because they are frequent, to see Pearl Jam perform at Wrigley Field.
Are you an Eagles guy?
Like what makes you an Eagles guy? I'm
like
not,
Joe
I'm not
Walsh or
opposed.
Randall Cunningham?
What about Harold Carmichael? What about Wilbur Montgomery?
How about Sam Huff? Tommy McDonald?
He's got it.
Tom McDonald?
Nice.
Tom McDonald? I'm a Giants guy, man. Sam Huff. Everybody knows Sam Huff. What movie?
Remember the Titans?
No, Invincible, dude. Mark Wahlberg.
Exactly, the same movie.
Not the same movie.
I think it was the
not
sequel.
even close to the same movie. One had to do with segregation, and the other one had to do with a teacher whose wife left him, who ended up being a special teamer for the Eagles.
But more importantly, they won the NFC
But
East
that's
in 1980.
true. So they had separation.
Yeah, not in the same manner of Remember the Titans.
Okay. Hey, something dawned on me yesterday, and I'm going to admit that I was kind of blown away. So Caitlin Clark is having her number retired. I know it's a shocker in Iowa City, because there was probably a debate of should we retire number 22?
There's every college should retire number 22.
For Caitlin Clark?
Speaking of Clyde Drexler?
I say that tongue in
tell me more.
I say that tongue in cheek. I say that as a joke. But like, man, her impact was legit, right? I don't guys, everybody listening, I'm not fully serious. I'm not saying that Nebraska should put 22 in red with Clark in the vault. Mm-hmm. But just to credit her impact.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. People just got shivers up their spine thinking about it. But I love her. I don't care if she went to Iowa. Doesn't matter. Her impact on that sport and women's sports in general, incredible.
So on that point, I'm going to circle back to that.
Sorry.
So it dawned on me yesterday after seeing the graphic. So first of all, Iowa and USC are playing on the day that they retire a number. So how cool is that? Juju Watkins is going to be playing in Iowa City. I went and looked at the ticket prices, immediately shut the computer off. Hello. But it just dawned on me why they are playing USC on the day that they retire Caitlin Clark's jersey.
Is it like 12/22?
It is February 2nd. So
Groundhog
it's
will be in attendance.
So it's 2/2.
Gotcha.
That's pretty damn creative.
Yeah, you like that?
That's I like that.
How do you feel about people who get married on 11/11?
I mean, better than the ones who get married on 9/11, I guess.
Is that a popular date for weddings?
I had a cousin who got married on 11/11.
Because it was 11/11.
11/11, because it's like lucky, make a wish. It's 11/11. Do you make wishes on 11/11?
No, but I do at 12:34 every day. When I see it's 12:34 on the clock, I make a wish.
Nice.
That's what I grew up with, is the 12:34. 11/11. If you get married on 11/11, that'd be easy to remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Back in 2012, when it was 12/12/12, there was a whole story of like people literally had their ceremonies so they could say their vows or like say I do on 12 p.m.
Noon game. I like it.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool if you got married at exactly that time.
Is it hard for people like
to get married? Yes. To stay married? Yes.
Caitlin Clark,
like Travis Hunter to keep his fiance? Yes.
Like I
which
know
now you can bet on.
I know it's not the same.
You can.
I love
Oh,
Did you know-
really?
Yeah.
On Polymarket or
taking
whatever.
the under.
You can bet on if Travis Hunter will keep his fiancee. There's a 31% chance that they will not stay together, but you can bet on the shoddy conversation right now online.
Can you bet on Travis and Taylor?
I did not see that one, but I was not searching for that one because they're going to get engaged here soon. She is going to have a kid, and he's going to retire.
She's getting to that point.
And Jackson Mahomes could be the father. Now that would be
Is
the
it
twist.
is
we
it
all
difficult? Is it really difficult for Nebraska fans to appreciate? Like this is what'd you say?
I grew up watching Jerry Springer. Come on,
What'd you say?
Jackson Mahomes
Is going to be the father?
Yeah, and then they're going to go on TV. It's going to be a huge deal. I'll watch.
It'd be a pay-per-view event if that were to happen.
I got the Kelseys.
I don't think that was very kind.
Oh, Gary, talking about kindness. How cute of you. How sweet.
Jimmy, keep your wife away from him. This is what the NBA does not have that WNBA has. With all the issues about the NBA right now. Who is the most popular under 30 basketball player in the world?
Luka.
Yeah.
In the world.
In the world? In the world.
In the world.
Probably Mbappe.
Basketball.
Oh, basketball player? Yeah. Yeah, probably is her.
It's Caitlin Clark.
And by the way,
and the NBA does not have a Caitlin Clark under the age of 30.
That's true.
How incredible that probably still is the case, and they did everything wrong last year. They did literally everything you could do wrong. The WNBA did it. They didn't protect her. They allowed for players to run after her. They allowed for players to try and injure her. They continuously put people on their broadcast that had an agenda against her. When all these UConn players were going after her, they didn't tell them cease and desist. It was absolutely terrible and disgusting. And the only people that they hurt is they hurt themselves.
And
terrible.
They are continuing to do that. When the WNBA commissioner says all the stars of the WNBA should have been on the cover of Time. All right. If you're looking to go to the game, the ticket prices are going to cost you about a couple of years of tuition.
And you know what?
$2,225 in Iowa City.
That's crazy.
All right. Here is Andrew. Andrew, welcome to the show.
I want every Creighton basketball player who's listening to this radio show to give back all their money.
Whoa.
Last night was pathetic. They looked uninterested, didn't care to be there. The effort was piss poor, except for Ashworth. It is time for Mac to have a talk with some of those boys.
What if this...
I am hot.
I know you are. What if they're just not very good?
I will say they don't run an offense. They've become the old Nebraska. They don't run an offense. And then they get to the end of the shot clock, and it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
I mean, Kalkbrenner needs to get a little more physical there.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It just looks like he's just going through the motions. I mean, I don't know how much we're paying that dude, but get a fire under your ass.
That's they're in a weird spot right now. They're just not consistent enough.
No,
and last night was not a good look at all. I mean, competition. There's going to be a winner and a loser, but man, to lose by 24 and once Georgetown took control in the second half, it was all downhill and there was no response. That's one of the things. That's why I said earlier, Andrew, and you know this. You've seen every Creighton game. You know it in and out. It was jarring to see that Creighton effort last night and the kind of how they matched up against Georgetown, because that's one of the softest games I've seen Creighton play in a long time.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, they quit.
Andrew, I'll say this too. Like when you have a guy like Pop, who is so good against Kansas and has been emerging now since Trey and Baylor went off and, to the pros and whatnot. when you lose a guy like that and who's your secondary ball handler and at times is your secondary to maybe, Kansas City was like the primary scorer, it's a massive, massive loss. But I think the most worrisome thing for me, Andrew, is the fact that this is a program with as story of the history as they've had in the last 10 years, don't have the guys and don't have the bodies to step up and take over that role. And it worries me that a guy like that goes down and no one on the bench says, all right, this is my opportunity to take that spot. This is my opportunity to earn my keep. And instead, you go 29 minutes into a game. 29 minutes, Andrew. 0 points from the bench. It's inexcusable.
I watched it. It was, and even I don't care about the talent. Obviously, this is not one of the most talented Creighton teams.
Yeah.
But my God, bring the effort. For the love of all that's holy, bring the effort.
They got to play a different way.
By first, I'm so mad. I am irate.
Well,
that's all.
It becomes a must-win game on Saturday afternoon against Villanova. Andrew.
Oh, they're not. They're looking at the CBI. If lucky.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry. It's okay. Right. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
There's a coach you trust, though, to turn this around. They got it.
But you can't turn around the roster. That's
the
thing.
No, I agree.
You can maybe work with the style that you go about your business that gives you a chance to not have nights like last night. But the roster construction is what it is. You don't have enough players on the floor that can create shots on their own. And then also one big telling thing here is Mason Miller, his broken leg late. He had a fight to come back through that to get ready for the season. He has no confidence. Absolutely no confidence on the floor. So you can't rely on him. They're basically a 2.5 person team right now. Ashworth, Kalkbrenner together. McAndrew, I say half because he's going to be good and he's improving, but he's still a young player.
Yeah.
And physically, he's going to have some rough nights in the Big East. But they're in a bad place right now. Villanova's a must-win game, but Villanova is improving. They've won 5 in a row, and of course, Eric Dixon loves playing in the city of Omaha. I don't know. It's just, again, you're not used to seeing just like this Creighton team that can't put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. And it's, Pop Isaacs is big, but that's a rough one last night. When you've lost Andrew, you've lost it.
So say I've never heard him like that.
First time I've been doing the show that Andrew has been like that.
Was that bone chilling for you a little bit?
He's usually positive, and he's taking a jab at my Nebraska basketball team. Now he comes in here, and it's the end of the world.
I'll tell you right now, Greg McDermott's
Play some REM.
He's going to have a come to Jesus moment with Jemiah Neal. And I mean, because when they beat UNLV, he was awesome. He was great, right? I know that UNLV, UNLV wasn't at the same level of Alabama. I think that after yesterday, you could say that, Georgetown is there too, and you can argue that, maybe they're a better team, but that's the guy that's got to step up, right? That's the guy that's got to be better with Pop out. And he wasn't against Alabama, and he wasn't against Georgetown, and if he's not against Villanova, it's first time in a long time, but it's going to be a long year.
The thing about the Big East this year?
What's the thing, Garrett? Tell me the thing.
The bad teams are not as dreadful.
Yes.
As they've been. Now, probably a 4 bidder. I mean, it ain't going to be the SEC, which...
How many? Did they only get 3 teams last year? Mm-hmm. Or did they... Because I remember Hurley, which, by the way, what a game.
That was a good game. Thanks to the officials taking over at the end of the game.
Yeah, how dumb was that? And then they had to do the makeup call on the other end. Like, that was...
I love 2 off-the-ball calls and 2 monitor reviews in the last minutes of games.
Terrible.
That's what makes college basketball so special. That's why we've had a bunch of good games this week, because that's what I look forward to at the end of games. But that was a great basketball game that UConn pulled away. But look at the SEC. The SEC could be looking at 12 bids.
Crazy.
12 bids. But I think the Big East right now is Marquette, UConn. I'll throw St. John's in there and find me another one. But if you want to start to do the math, and I know it's game 1, but just the feel of last night and what's still here, I mean, you got to win 12, 13 games in the Big East.
I'm looking at
Creighton?
looking at the standings right now. St. John's is 9-2. Georgetown is 9-2. UConn is 9-3. They're ranked 11th. Marquette played a really good game. Now, give credit to Butler. I mean, they stood in there for a little bit in the first half, but then Marquette pulled away. Xavier played UConn really, really tough. Villanova is 8-4. I mean, it's, and I'm not going to say that DePaul is their 8-3 is very different from a lot of these other teams' really impressive records. But it's not as, I mean, look, if you can lose to Georgetown, you can lose to DePaul. Like you can lose to, it's the first time in a little bit where you can lose to anybody in the Big East. That hasn't really been the case year in and year out.
No.
With how bad the bottom's been.
All right, here is Clayton. Good morning, Clayton.
It's always a great day when Creighton basketball loses. It is an awesome day.
Clayton, hold on, though. No. Nebraska doesn't need Creighton to lose. They need some help. They need that win to get some feel.
I'm not even talking about that. I am absolutely disgusted with J-Sker fans. I can't stand them. I can't stand Creighton basketball fans because, as the previous callers have always, whenever they lose, they pout, moan, complain. These rich white-haired people who sit there and, oh my God, everything's coming down. You know, it's like the world's coming to an end, and they're pouty. I can't stand it. I am not a J-Sker. There's only one. You're either one or the other, in my opinion. I'm Husker, do or die. All right, second thing. I really feel frustrated. Now, I'm not a Caitlin Clark fan in college, but you guys absolutely hit the nail on the head. She has done individually so much for the game of women's basketball. She brought the attendance viewership up, and then they have sat there and they have dogpiled on her, against her. They've pulled race cards. They've pulled everything. And even now she has to sit there and somehow say she has to pay homage to the other, whatever, founders of the WNBA, which I feel is a pushed agenda. No conspiracy theory, but she's never, ever been someone. She's always been humble. And now she's got to sit there and come out and say this stuff. It was just absolutely disgusting. I'll let you mingle about it. I appreciate guys, and there's only one, and it's the Husker Red. Love you guys. Do or die. Go Big Red.
Hey, thank you, Clayton. They do continue to move the goalposts on Caitlin Clark.
I mean, what else is she supposed to do? And then also, too, like, her supporters, there are plenty of people who support her who are mad at her for, continuing that agenda and, like, saying, like, okay, guys, like, I get, like, yes, like, I want more of these, marginalized groups and whatnot and to get more money. And I want us, like, she wants the league to succeed. Everything that she said has been lockstep with the WNBA, and they cannot quit it. They cannot quit bearing her. And she keeps being very humble and very, shows a lot of humility about it. And even the people who like her are like, dude, stand up for yourself.
We come back. We'll dive into some Nebraska football stuff. The world of Nebraska football is not falling apart, but it may pay off as we go hunting for additions in the portal.
It's Wabbit season.
Plus, I will fill you in on the story of the tweet I had yesterday about Dylan Raiola. That's coming up next on Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. Sorry, I'm liking all the posts about Doug Gottlieb this morning.
Get him, Shefty.
Hey,
Get him, Michigan Tech.
The crapping on Doug Gottlieb is on a whole. It's something to behold.
Shorts on backwards. If you know, you know.
Wisconsin Green Bay 2-11. They play at Drake on Saturday, coming off a loss against Michigan Tech. Surprisingly, Doug Gottlieb wasn't on his show yesterday after that loss.
Oh, what a shocker!
Fill-in host.
Nobody you radio.
Now, I mean, he deserves to get, but so does the athletic director at Wisconsin Green Bay. That was taken a little bit out of context because I know what he was kind of intimating, but you don't say something like that, then your team looks like they're sleepwalking and they get beat 72-70.
Now, I want to say,
how did he ever convince the AD to hire him so that he could also be a radio guy and a basketball coach? Who would be the best? Who could do that on the air here at 1620?
Coach and do radio.
Coach and do radio, like in college? In college or high school?
Well, we've had it in high school.
Yeah.
So this is college. So who could be?
I think you were Bishop.
Who could be Doug Gottlieb?
But I think for you, like,
I'd say you because Bishop would get teed up a lot.
Well, my thing is too is that like coaching is more about being a leader of men than it isn't necessarily a X's and O's. There is a lot of don't get me wrong, guys. There's a lot of X's and O's in basketball, okay? But you do have to lead guys and they have to buy into your culture and buy into their system. Look at, the Hurley model over there. Like, he's super smart and they run a lot of great off-ball stuff, but they do that because they all believe in him as a coach, right? So I think while your basketball IQ and Bishop's basketball IQ is probably on par with one another, being veteran broadcasters of both play-by-play basketball teams for a very long time, I think that you could probably galvanize the troops in a greater way than Bishop could.
Yeah. Bishop would be on the Mac tree, though, which is a pretty impressive tree.
Yes, it is. I don't know how you do that, but they need to go to him and say, choose either one.
Well, do you think that, like, so does he have a radio show every day?
Yes.
How is it a 4-hour gig or is it?
They cut it to 3. So there's 3 hours nearly every day.
Yeah. No, if it was a 1-hour show a day, I think that that could be a pretty doable thing. 3 hours of radio, man, that's a lot of. Once you get from 2 to 3 hours, it gets intense. How
you doing with 4?
I'm going to be honest, man. It's been a hell of a transition.
Because
I'm being serious.
1 hour a week?
I legit went from not even that. I went from 0 hours a week. I went from, hitting the mic maybe every couple shows to like.
I did.
Now, granted, I've had a lot of practice with podcasts and being on the air, and it's not like I got.
They say podcasts are just like radio.
They're not, but I know how to talk. It's been in all seriousness, it's been a massive transition.
It is a difference. I did a show. I filled in for a friend of mine, and I did 2 hours, and I was like, "We're done.
That's it."
Yeah,
you get to have my stuff.
Yeah,
but the whole situation there is everybody is crapping on Gottlieb, and rightfully so. But he gets it. He ticks a lot of people off. I mean, it can be a gift. Like you're good. You got a young gift that's going to do you well in this business because you can tick a lot of people off. Gottlieb is the same way.
Yeah.
But people should be going after the athletic director. He should be under scrutiny for hiring him to run a basketball program that has had a little modicum of success. It's not like they've just been dire and the program has been on the edge of extinction.
It's a great point. I will say this too, though. Like, I really believe that broadcasters, and you yourself is an incredible example of this. I think that broadcasters can go from the microphone to being in a front office. I think that broadcasters have veteran broadcasters have seen a lot of sports. They've seen a lot of mishaps in the sports that they cover. They've talked to you before you went to Florida and became in the front office down there in minor league baseball teams. You had talked to a lot of people in the front offices. You had gotten to know what happens in front offices. You got to know the ins and outs and intricacies of it. So when you're broadcasting for a very long time, you learn a lot about what goes on in a a sport office. So I think broadcasters can go from being the phone to being in the front office. Going from the microphone to being a coach, man.
Yeah.
That's no, you don't, unless you're in the locker room, unless you're in the trenches with the guys, unless you can go from, I think you can go from being behind the microphone to being an assistant coach to being maybe an analyst to being maybe a GA or whatnot, and then work your way up. But from going behind the microphone to being a front man, especially in college, no way.
So let me explain a story. So I tweeted this out yesterday, and now I'm going to tell you the backstory. So let me read the tweet first, and then I will give you the story. So a friend of a friend let me know something that was really cool was happening yesterday, and he said, "Hey, keep it on the down low." He said, "Until it happens," because they don't want to draw attention to it.
Sure.
So I tweeted out a local fourth grader had a simple Christmas wish to play catch with Dylan Raiola, and then yesterday at his school, Dylan Raiola showed up. So here is the backstory of that tweet. There is a young fourth grader in Louisville, not very far from here, a hardworking blue-collar family. They don't have a lot of, they don't have financial means, but they work hard and they love living in Louisville. So this little boy, he went to his dad and he said all he wanted for Christmas was to play catch with Dylan Raiola. And kudos to his dad. So, you might say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm sure there's a lot of kids that want to do it. So this boy's dad said, let's write him. So they wrote a letter to Dylan. Dylan got the letter. He called the dad and told him that he'd come to his son's school to play catch with him. So there's some logistics that are involved. So they lined up with the school that the school wanted him to come a little bit later in the day. So yesterday at about 2:00, Dylan Raiola shows up at the school in Louisville, and he walks into the kid's classroom. So the kid does not know he's coming. They had to start to let people know, but they said, don't say anything because we don't want a crowd of people from outside of the school coming in to see Dylan Raiola in our school. But he's walking down the halls and teachers are like, is that?
Yeah.
And the principal's like, yeah. So he walks into the kid's classroom and he says, is there anyone in here who wants to play catch?
That's awesome.
So he fulfilled the boys' Christmas wish. And then with the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, they went outside and he played catch with them. And then Dylan stayed and signed autographs. So that's
classy.
That's what happened yesterday.
Classy.
Pretty cool story. And there are, like this time of the year especially, you see a lot of student athletes across the state will go and visit shut-ins, or they will go and visit schools. Community service is part of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
And, the giving back. And I don't know, because I've been in situations where I've seen a student athlete come in, and even if they just say hello and they sign some autographs, I hope they fully grasp what kind of an impact they have on young people, whether they are fans or they're just, wow, that person plays soccer, they play volleyball, they play football, they play baseball, and now I can go home and tell them I'm in their school. So that's pretty damn cool what happened yesterday in Louisville.
I think the athletic department has done a great job relaying that, not only the football team, but all across their sports. You see volleyball players are great examples of that who do that. And look, credit to the athletic department and credit to the dad. The dad writing the letter and doing all that was awesome. But the fact that the dad felt comfortable enough to write a letter to the athletic department and felt that he had a connection deep enough with Nebraska that this is something could happen is kudos to the job that Nebraska has done to create connections with those types of fans.
Okay. So last night, wait a minute. Let me ask this question. So the portal giveth, the portal taketh away.
Yeah.
Vince Morrow wants to take a former Nebraska running back away. Dante Dowdell is set to visit Kentucky. I want everybody to prepare themselves because it is the 19th of December. The portal is still open until the 28th. There may be there's still going to be a couple of names off of Nebraska's roster. Maybe a backup offensive lineman or something like that are still probably going to be considering the portal. So we have until the 28th, but you can also have visits until the mid-January because school doesn't start until mid-January in Lincoln. So we got a whole nother month of this. So here we go. But you ride the emotions of the portal season, whether it be, why is he going to Georgia Tech? in this case Rivers, and you go, I thought he was all in for Nebraska. Doesn't he want to play catch with Dylan Raiola?
Yeah.
Doesn't he want to hang out with Ja'Cory Barney?
Isn't he like the fourth grader?
And you're like, well, Nebraska, this is not good. Remember, I'm sometimes when you're in a situation like Nebraska, you got to be opportunistic. It's not necessarily, hey, we're Nebraska and we have a lot more money. Because, well, stories of Nebraska getting their two main targets on offense, two wide receivers that are, one is on campus in Hunter, the wide receiver from Cal, and then Dane Key, who everybody keeps saying he's going to Georgia, but why is he going to be in Lincoln this weekend?
Yeah.
He's going to be visiting. So those are the two top targets on offense. But as you get excited about that, then you get word that last night, Isaiah World decides, the number one offensive tackle, that he's going to Portal U and he will be going to Oregon. So see, you gotta buckle up, you gotta put the seatbelt on tight and ride the emotion of the portal that giveth and taketh, provide hope, and then just suck the life out of you.
Yeah, Georgia versus Nebraska. I mean, a lot of recruiting. Nate Frazier, you got Dylan Raiola. Now you have Dane Key. I'll say this.
A lot of people are saying Georgia and Nebraska are very similar.
Zaya Hunter. I think Nebraska needs to pull a DeAndre Jordan with the Clippers and just not let that guy leave. Right?
I'm loving these NBA references.
They just need to go.
People say the ratings for the NBA are down. Not with Matt. Matt's like, I'm going to drop NBA stuff, whatever I can.
Benoit Benjamin,
I'm going to take you
legend.
back to the pre-2000s. Let's get physical.
They need to go and lock the door
First
and
team
go.
to 80 win.
They need to go. Now you can't leave. Okay? Now you can't leave. And not let him, because he's supposed to go to Kansas State after his visit to Lincoln. This is a guy, Dane Key's going to be tough. He's a highly regarded prospect wide receiver. They have the advantage having Da'Keil Shorts, but man, it is tough to recruit against Georgia and Kirby Smart. Hunter is a guy that you absolutely need to have him, and you cannot be losing him to Kansas State. Lock the door. Don't let him leave. Also, too, this is getting a little bit of a pattern with Nebraska going after top offensive tackles and just missing out, right? You had Brandon Baker. You had now Isaiah World. They've been in contention for these top guys. They've done a good job recruiting offensive linemen. Don't get me wrong. I love Donnie, right? But they're real close, no cigar in a lot of these transfer portal and top offensive tackle prospects. Look, if this offensive line is going to be the offensive line of old that Nebraska won with so much, they need to get those top dudes.
This makes sense, though, right? It makes sense.
That he went to Oregon. Oh, yeah. I mean, but I wonder, like, we're never going to know this, and this question will never be answered because the books will never be open. But I wonder how, like, I think we have this idea that when a kid goes somewhere, that team was automatically the highest bidder. I wonder what the percentage is there, right? I think you can fairly assume with the Phil Knight money that Oregon was probably the highest bidder. But there are some other instances where it's like, were they really the highest bidder? Or did that guy take a little bit less money because he really believed in the program? And I think that's a little bit of an unfair thought and schema we have with the NIL and the transfer portal that automatically another team just offered more money. And we'll never know if that's the case. But I do want to throw that out there. Like maybe Eric Rivers just thought Georgia Tech was a better fit for him.
Now that one,
it didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, that's the type of deal where it's
unless
like
he wanted to stay closer to home.
Sure.
Now the world one, Nebraska was aggressive, but if he says I'm going to Oregon, and yes, there's Phil Knight money against the problem Nebraska has. There's not a bunch of rich millionaires walking around the state of Nebraska. We don't have a Phil Knight. We have a Phil Knight, but he doesn't want to be the Phil Knight of Nebraska athletics. Is going to Oregon, like, for football reasons, smart play. I think there's probably, as we've now, 3 years into full portaling?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, in Nebraska's case, when you don't have NFL dudes and you don't want to spend willy-nilly money, you don't want to get into bidding wars because you don't think that buying a title is the way to go, is you got to be smart. I think you got to also be opportunistic. Like, somebody shows up and they're like, you know what, I want to play. Okay, I see a spot. Somebody else better might be recruiting me.
Yeah.
Like, Rivers was Miami, Nebraska, Georgia Tech. You're like, you know what? This is the best opportunity for me. There's part of me as I've watched Rule handle the portal, is Nebraska might be better at recruiting high school players than they are portal.
Yeah.
Because this is a staff that likes relationships, and they like to further those relationships and get to know kids and vet them properly, that they are better at the long-term relationship than they are at speed dating.
Don't you think that Rule's coaching hires have indicated that they aren't the type of program that's just going to go and buy guys willy-nilly? And what I mean by that is there's a reason he's hiring Phil Simpson, who has those Florida connections. There's a reason he's hiring Addison Williams, who has those Florida connections. There's a reason he's putting Jamar Mosey in a big role so we can have the Kansas City connections, because he knows if they're going to get top prospects, it's not going to be because they're just random and they're going to reach out to them and say, hey, come and play for us and here's all this money. They need those inside tracks. And so his hiring patterns have indicated to me that you're right. This isn't a program that can just say, hey, you're good. We have no connections. Here's all the money. Come and play for us. And I think geography as well plays into this factor as well. Nebraska being in the middle of the country, kind of equally far away from those top states, right? Well, not equally, but they're farther away from top states in the middle of the country. You're not going to have too many of these SEC, ACC guys who are in the portal who are going to come to Nebraska to be closer to home.
The Idaho defensive back.
Yeah, and they got another one coming in too.
They do, but he also mentioned it's not been official that Addison Williams is on this staff. But he goes, man, that defensive back, Addison Williams, man, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
One thing I do like about the portal guys, because they're speed dating. They just get in, they get out. They don't want to do the song and dance. They don't need a host. They just want to know what the bag is, what their playing time is, what the future looks like. Hey, I know you, you know me. This is a good relationship, but I got to go to Atlanta. I'll get back to you, coach. Is a lot of them do the social media. I have seen more inner workings of the new football facility from the portal guys in the last week and a half than I have from Nebraska since it opened.
Yeah, it's an awesome facility. You know, I do get it though. All these guys like tweeting at Dylan Raiola and saying stuff to him because they know that that's going to gain a lot of traction and they're going to get more popular in doing that. And I think that it's a bit of a leverage play from these guys who tweet at Dylan, these wide receivers. Eric Rivers did it. He tweeted at Dylan and said whatever, and then he didn't end up committing.
So you're saying they go, oh man, Nebraska's got a passionate fan base that loves social media. That if I put something out there, everybody will handle it with reasonable takes.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show, though, the power that Dylan has. He's got some pull, man. He's got some people want to play with Dylan. They want to play with him. And I think as the years and the months go on, it's more and more poignant that is the case.
He owes Nebraska, by the way, in the peer recruiting. He did not help Nebraska in peer recruiting last year because of the timing of when he committed.
Absolutely.
So he owes Nebraska a couple of wide receivers this weekend.
Hopefully he can get it done. This Marquavius Moss, guy, the FCS back who's visiting Nebraska, 5'11", 190.
What does Addison say?
I get it. Like they need at least one of these taller guys. Like I need taller corners on this team because you can't be guarding. I love Malcolm. But he can't be guarding a 6'3" tight end with a 5'7" corner.
When we come back, there is another name that may warm the cockles, and it's a Scott Frost connection to a guy that's possibly in Nebraska's radar.
Warm the what?
Cockles.
Okay.
It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. This is a question that I'm just following Bishop's tweets. Is Bishop flying commercial? Does he not travel? I know he's solo on the road.
I thought he goes with them.
Does he not travel with the team all the time?
Unless the schedule prevented it. Yeah, I heard just from last time I remember.
You would know more. You know better than me.
Mac and them, they treat him like gold.
Yeah, he must
would think so.
He's tweeting about flying in an airport today. Is he not? Is he going somewhere else? He's not coming back here? That loss last night just did in Bishop, and he's like, never going back to Nebraska.
Second time I listened to Bishop, I want to shout out my colleague who did a very good job yesterday. He's one hell of an announcer. I have a ton of, as someone who has done a lot of basketball play-by-play in my very, very young life, hell of a broadcaster. And I was impressed. That was a tough loss today. He kept it together, and he kept it very classy. So shout out to John.
He probably had a big audience last night because people dislike CBS Sports Network doing Big East games.
Really?
The official network of DePaul basketball.
And the official network, it seems like when Creighton plays at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good to know. I didn't.
5:30, there's that.
There's those weird, it's really funny. It's one of those intricate things between.
Can you, first of all, we got to stop. Can you tell people, because people are commenting, and that's why I asked you off the air. You are in pain this morning.
Oh.
So people think like you have your jaw wired shut because you're talking with clenched teeth.
Took a helmet to the chin.
I'm not going to show it to the camera. I have a big canker sore on the left side of my tongue right now.
Oh.
And I am in an ungodly amount of pain. I cannot eat on the left side of my mouth. It was so bad yesterday. And so I have a clenched jaw, and that's why you're hearing the saliva come out with my voice right now. I want to apologize. I think I just bit.
We've all been there.
Food wrong at one point, and yesterday was peak pain. And I thought, okay, I've been here because this happens. This happens to me.
Yeah.
And so, see, I have to swallow. This happens to me to the point where it's like, okay, typically when I sleep on it, when it's this bad, it'll be better in the morning. It's gotten worse. I've had it all week. I've been able to go through it all week. Today is peak bad. If you have any
lemon.
Look, I'll tell you right now, I gotta get hydrogen peroxide and fix it up for tomorrow. So I want to apologize if you guys are like, what the hell's going on? I am in.
We need our
so
whiskey
much
friends
pain
back
right now.
here because they could fix them up with some good stuff.
I literally can't
I can't even imagine whiskey being on that.
It's hard to.
You have enough of it, you won't feel it.
It's hard to drink water too. Like it's the only thing
Ted
that
Stryker
really,
with a drinking problem.
The only really thing that aids it is milk, but I'm not the biggest milk drinker.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So for people that are inquiring, that's
sorry. I'm just, and as we go on the show, it's only going to get worse.
But
and worse
he plays hurt.
because
That's
it
the
gets.
takeaway.
No, I should have addressed.
Is this Jordan's flu game?
Yeah, this might be. Matt's gonna go unconscious. He's gonna shoot 18 for 18.
I've
He's
had a good show
unstoppable.
so far, other than
Yeah.
the fact that you're right. I mean, it's bad.
So Nebraska in the portal world, again, they may have a key to the hunting of being better next year. So 2 wide receivers, their 2 top offensive targets are going to make visits. Everybody's saying Dane Key is going to Georgia. Again, if he's going to Georgia, why is he visiting Nebraska this weekend?
He would already be there, no?
So there is another prospect that is in the portal, and this would help with trade. So if you trade James Williams to Florida State, they trade Patrick Payton to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So Patrick Payton, who, talking to a friend of mine that saw every Florida State game and lived and died with the Noles this year from high above Doak Campbell Stadium. Shout out, Mr. Jeff. He said there were probably times that Mr. Payton probably checked out this year for Florida State. I mean, I think I would have checked out after the Georgia Tech game, and then I would have been done after Boston College, but I'm not a Noles fan. So Patrick Payton is in the portal, and he is the #1 edge rusher that is in the portal. There is a connection to Nebraska, but it's an old connection that is now closer to Tallahassee than it is than Lincoln. So Patrick Payton is from Miami.
Oh.
And during his high school recruiting, when Nebraska had a run of some really good dudes that they were plucking out of the state of Florida, they had Jaden Francois, Marcus Fleming, they had Henry Gray, and then they had Ronald Delancey III. All guys from South Florida that Nebraska was winning some battles with against Miami. And they got Patrick Payton. So Patrick Payton committed to Nebraska. Eric Chenander, Travis Fisher, Mike Dawson were the lead recruiters. Now, Mike Dawson has just been added to Frost's staff. But he built up a relationship with Frost. I remember Patrick Payton saying, I talk to Scott Frost every day. Every single day, he said, I talked to Scott Frost. At the time, it was a pretty good pickup because of the area in which they got him out of. But he decommitted from Nebraska, went to Miami, then he committed to Miami, then he ends up at Florida State. So he's back in the portal. So this is part of the portal world where you try and read vibes. You were talking about wide receivers that tweet at the quarterback.
Yeah.
So Philip Simpson has a tweet out there.
Yes.
And so people are trying to put 2 and 2 together. They thought it was Eric Rivers. Not Eric Rivers. He's going to Georgia Tech. Now, is it Patrick Payton, who at 6'5", 250, probably could get him to 260, would seem to be an ideal guy if Nebraska wants to play a 3-4 and have size on the edges? So we sit and wait if Nebraska has gotten Patrick Payton, or if it makes sense for him to rekindle a relationship closer to Tallahassee.
He's very similar in the job that he would do to Williams Nwaneri, right? You know, in terms of they're both 6'5" plus, they're both coming off the edge, they're both trying to sack the quarterback. At the same time, I'm not going to look at you and say, no, I don't want a guy who had 44 tackles, 15 for loss, and 7 sacks on a very, very good Florida State team in 2023.
He's a take.
He's a instant impact player, and we're getting to the point where they need more instant impact players. I'll tell you this though, I'm concerned, and I'm going to talk when we talk to Sipple. I'm going to ask Sipple about this. Where are the linebackers, man? Like, what are we doing? I mean, it's not even as if why haven't they committed or why are other teams getting the linebackers we want? They're not even taking visits. They're not even guys on the radar. They're more defensive backs and that are coming in. They brought in more special teamers than they have linebackers. I mean, they were interested in Phoenix Jackson, and he was supposed to come to Nebraska, and he didn't come to Nebraska. Where are the linebackers at? And
by the way, wasn't he supposed to go to Auburn? Some other school. His name popped up to.
I thought he committed. I thought it was a done deal. It was Auburn. It was Auburn. That was done.
His name was on. I think on 3 yesterday. He's going to Baylor. He's
what the heck happened?
He's visiting Baylor.
Auburn. Oh, here's a number one tweet. Auburn thought they had former Fresno State linebacker Phoenix Williams. So I guess Jackson. Williams. We were talking about Patrick Williams earlier. That's my thing. Like, why haven't they gotten one yet? Why haven't they brought any in and are on visits and are trying? Because, like, okay, I get it. You think you have it in-house. Cool. Who is it then? Like, who's that guy? Because Bayer's gone, Thompson's gone, Bullock's gone. So what are they doing here? That's my biggest concern right now. They're not even coming on visits, Gare.
I'm concerned. I'm with you, and we had this discussion yesterday. They're thin at inside linebacker. I mean, they are. Like, you can say we got some young guns and they're going to be our guys, but they don't have a lot of depth.
Well, the thing
that is concerning. But I also this is Rule. So Rule meets the media tomorrow, and I don't know if they're ready to go in this depth. I would like to know. And again, they might not be ready because you don't have to be at 105 for a while still. What's the ideal roster look like for linebackers? How many spots do they commit to linebackers?
Well, they're continuing to do a 3-3-5. You have to think that you're going to have a lot of spots for DBs. So I would put anywhere from 12 to probably 12
for linebackers.
For each spot. 4 at the jack, 4 at the inside, 4 at the middle. 1 from each class. You rotate up. I think that's probably the ideal spot. I don't know if I'm the most qualified person to be asking that. That's more so, but I think that's a great question to ask Rule at his presser. I agree with you. They're thin at inside linebacker. My biggest problem, though, is that they're not thin at middle linebacker. They have no one at middle linebacker. At least they got McGahee and Shavers playing inside and jack. They got nobody at middle. And they're not bringing anybody in.
Do you think also maybe it could be the way they are approaching the portal from that position? And we still have another portal go around in the spring. Is they're not going to play a 3-3-5.
But then what was the point of bringing in Butler then and then saying we want continuity?
But they didn't really play they were not a true 3-3-5
that's
this
a good
past
point.
season. So they were a little bit more versatile.
If they bring in Payton, I could see them going to more of a, like you said, more of a 3-4
Because you
base.
need size.
Absolutely.
That 240-pound rush end would get killed. And you need size on the edge now. He's 250. Some say he could be 260.
I'll say this though, if they end up getting Payton, you can start making the argument that they're deeper at the front line than they are in the back end.
Yeah. Well, your fronts. Well, your defensive line has a chance to be okay. Frontline guy, backup guy.
Yeah.
We got people want. This is a tweet from Chad. He wants people just to calm down. He said everyone needs to settle down. Harburg is going to play backup quarterback, tight end, outside linebacker, inside linebacker.
You know what? I'm telling you right now, he's the greatest athlete of all time. He can play any position.
So that would be one guy that could fill. And let's have him hold.
Hey, Heisman? Would he win the Heisman? Harburg for Heisman?
Harburg.
I don't think so. I think we're over Travis Hunter.
What?
Well,
you want to talk about the Dion effect? If Harburg starts playing both sides of the ball in 140 snaps, he's got to be at New York,
the
right?
Heisman Trophy presentation, and all the attention would be on Harper, and then Harper, in her excitement that Harburg wins the Heisman, would forget to stand, and then Rule would have to tap her on the shoulder, and then it would just create all kinds of issues.
And then Harper would be like, "Yeah, he doesn't go to parties, so he would just drive me, and I would go in, and he would wait outside." And
hey, how about North Platte and Kearney having like the two famous Nebraska athlete couples? Casey is getting married.
Oh, that's right.
Out in North Platte.
Shout out Casey.
And then you have a guy from Kearney that is dating somebody from Michigan who, the young lady from Michigan, probably a little bit more accomplished than the quarterback from Kearney. Look at that.
Hey,
I mean,
give Heinrich a little. Hey, give Heinrich a little credit. It ain't like he ain't nothing. He's something. I'm a Heinrich guy, man. Label me Heinrich guy. Heinrich maneuver.
Nice.
But really,
nice.
If there was ever a time,
I know. That's still learning your timing.
So in the power ranking of that couple, you take
Jimmy
Harburg over Murray.
1 second, Jimmy. There's no timing. There's no timing.
Oh.
My comedy, quote unquote, is just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks. There's no such thing as timing. Yes, to your question.
So we'd be invited to the wedding. You'd sit on the Harburg side.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
I would sit on the Harper Murray side.
I'm part German.
Who would let's say we have a breakup with these two student athletes at Nebraska and they both jump in the portal.
Who gets who?
Who would you be more upset about of leaving?
Who would have a greater impact on the team? I think Harper definitely would win that convo. All right, guy.
Like I just like tonight. I'm going back and forth here on Twitter about Nebraska volleyball. It is that team. There's a couple things I want tonight. So first of all, Nebraska to win. That's first and foremost. And then I want to see Harper Murray smash one off somebody's face.
Yeah.
This is what this team has become. GBR Nation is like,
they're the 85 Bears.
Crush them. Make them feel the pain.
It's like Kylo Ren. More.
But you know what it is?
More.
It's very much like the 90s Nebraska football teams where you were so confident as a fan, you were like, I know they're going to win, but I want them to crush. I want them to beat them just so bad. I want them to sweep in 2 and Penn State taps out and they say, we got to go back home. We got to get home for the football game.
I was sitting at Longwell's and we were watching the Dayton game and some people were getting nervous. I go, I'm not nervous. And I looked at my friend and I go, isn't it nice rooting for a wagon? Isn't it just nice to not, like, they're not playing great, but we know what's going to happen.
Nebraska, tell them what it was like.
Yeah.
It was
God, Iowa State Saturday at 1.
Man,
it was glorious.
I was sitting watching the volleyball team and I was like, man, this is good. For me, it feels, look, watching Nebraska volleyball is like chicken soup for the soul for me.
Hey, back in that day, the age I was, you were fully hussed 24/7, 365. And you were like, you know what? I'm going to run down that hill and I'm going to get all them cows. Instead, I'm just going to run down that hill and get one. I'm like, I'm going to get the whole herd.
Sure.
That's what it was like back in the 90s.
Hell, they might give us a game.
You were like, this is incredible. That's kind of what Nebraska volleyball has become.
It is.
As they chase
totally
their
are.
6th national title tonight. All right, Steve Simple's coming up in the next hour. Also, we'll talk. Don't tell your friends because you're not supposed to. Maybe we can slip in some portal talk when we talk Boston College, Nebraska in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Why not?
Budget cuts, by the way, are going to limit the size of the band.
Oh no, I'm going to get an email again.
The whole station got an email about the band.
Yeah.
Well, remember, budget cuts, they didn't go on the road this year. Budget cuts, they are taking half the band to the Pinstripe Bowl where there will be no public rally. It's just going to be go play the game and get out. Do a little sightseeing, ring the bell, look at the tree.
I don't even think
do
they're
some ice
doing.
skating.
I don't even think they're doing the
all that
sightseeing.
stuff. Hour number 3 coming up next. Hey, maybe you know this off the top of your head as we welcome you back in. Steve Sipple's coming up bottom of the hour. So Iowa, Iowa football.
I'm aware.
They are portaling for quarterbacks. They've had some issues with quarterbacks of late.
Have they?
Hank Brown from Auburn has transferred to Iowa. The backup from Penn State was on a visit there.
Bo Pribula. That would make a lot of sense for him because he can run the ball. And I thought that when Iowa's had this idea of we have to get a thrower, and which is why they brought in Cade McNamara and tried committing to him. But I think that when they went to Brendan Sullivan, the former Northwestern quarterback, who's more of a runner, when they doubled down on the run and added another dimension to an already really good run game with Caleb Johnson, they look like their best offense. So I think Pribula would be actually a really good fit for that team.
Interesting, because they're not. That might be the Tim Lester effect. I like their offense a lot more this year under Tim Lester. Now they lose Caleb Johnson. But my point is, maybe you know this, and then Rain Man over here. Since Kirk Ferentz has been at Iowa, has Iowa and Penn State had the same number of quarterbacks drafted?
Sorry, I just got 6'4" stuck in my head when I hear those two together.
True.
When is the last? So Trace McSorley was was he a 7th round pick, or was he a late draft guy?
I thought he was drafted.
Okay. And then who's that number 1 prospect that they had who absolutely flamed out, but then he ended up getting
Christian
drafted?
Hackenberg?
Hackenberg. So there's 2 off the top of my head that I can think of who would have been Penn State quarterbacks drafted.
Sean Clifford.
Yeah, that's another one.
He was drafted. Then I'm scrolling here. McSorley was a 6th rounder.
That's what I thought.
And then there was the great Christian Hackenberg, taken in the 2nd round by a franchise that I don't know why they just can't punch up, the New York Jets.
Okay. And Ferentz, when did I know it's what?
25 years.
Okay. So it's 99.
Yep.
So he's had,
it's a fun year.
There's been three guys drafted from Penn State since Ferentz. And then so we'll go to, you want to guess the last quarterback drafted from Iowa was? Who he was?
Nate Stanley.
Attaboy.
Well, and then they had the stretch of Beathard, Stanley.
They're the same number. Stanley, Beathard, and Stanzi. That was 1992 was Matt Rogers.
So
he was like a 12th round pick.
Matt Rogers is a good quarterback. I liked him. His father was Jimmy, who was a Boston Celtics head coach.
That is crazy.
That his dad was Jimmy?
No.
Oh, that his dad was involved with the Celtics? What part of that do you think is crazy?
That they
blew a
both
2-0 lead to the Knicks in 1990.
They both had 3 quarterbacks.
So that is
25 years.
That is because there's a good part of that is Paterno.
It's a good point.
But Iowa is active in the portaling for a quarterback. But something you brought up earlier about the portal, and the portal giveth, the portal taketh away, the portal give us hope, the portal just destroys us. And then we'll forget about the portal beginning at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll focus on volleyball, and then we'll come back to the portal. And who knows, by then, maybe somebody will commit to Nebraska out of the portal. I think I'm going to be the voice of reason around college football, which outside of the games, the news is exhausting.
Yeah.
I think this ridiculous bidding war is going to cool down because I think we're in a stretch right now where we have a lot of egos that are spending in the pay for play. There is no endorsements. Okay, the NIL is not, hey, sponsor the bank opening next weekend. I bet if you looked at the entire body across the country with NIL on how athletes are getting paid, maybe 2-3% are strictly off an endorsement. Shout out though, the law firm, and I forgot it, that had Kalkbrenner in the ad last night that was on CBS Sports Network where he's trying to get into a car. Great ad.
I was listening
Hotman
to
O'Brien,
on the radio.
Hotman O'Brien, and there's another one.
Lathrop.
Great ad. Great ad, by the way. But I bet that there are probably, the endorsement deal probably is about 4%, 96% of it is pay for play. I think, though, there are a lot of egos out there that are spending willy-nilly, that are trying to buy a title, while other schools that they don't have to worry about buying a title, they just have a nice complement of players that get paid. They're knocking off the big boys. I think this is going to cool down a bit because at some point, you have to look at your return on investment.
I was about to say that.
If I'm spending a lot of money on a particular player and I'm still not winning, am I still going to do that? Because in the business world, you're not doing that. That's a bad investment. You're moving on. Dwindling results, I'm like, cut that loose. I think we're going to see that down the road sooner than later when it comes to the NIL and what we're doing and who's spending what. Because I think there's a lot of ego involved right now.
Who was the he went to Illinois, but he helped with Portnoy pay for Underwood.
The individual?
The donor. He went to Illinois. His wife went to Michigan.
Isn't it Ellison? Larry Ellison?
Yes,
Does that sound right?
Larry Ellison. Good pull there. He went to he was an Illinois grad. Hypothetically, right? Because I'm assuming Underwood is that $10 million a year or is that $10 million up front? Like I guess we don't really know.
I think it's the overall package, maybe.
Okay. So let's say, and he spent a decent amount of that money. Underwood flames out. He's not good. I mean, let's be real here. 5-star quarterbacks are great, but if you go down the list, like Dante Moore was a number one quarterback in the nation. He went to UCLA. Now he's at Oregon, right? I mean, Hackenberg is Max Brown's another 5-star quarterback who never really played. USC Pitt. Like,
God, there are a lot of like big name quarterbacks that flame out.
Hunter Johnson, Clemson, who was under Trevor Lawrence. Like he went to Northwestern. He couldn't even beat out Peyton Ramsey for a quarterback job. Like I'm telling you right now, you think there are a lot of busts at the top of the draft for the NFL quarterbacks? Look at 5-star quarterbacks for college. It gets bad, man. So you got a guy like Ellison who pays a lot of money to go and get Underwood. What if Underwood flames out? You think Ellison is ever going to pony up that type of dollar ever again? Let's go even small scale. Like Nebraska in the early parts of NIL paid a lot of money for O'Shawn Mathis. They gave that guy a lot of money, and I don't think he was the game wrecker for the paycheck they were giving him. Do you think
you got your return on investment? So it was $500,000, which they gave him.
I don't think it was. I think at the end of the year, he was better. He was causing pressure, especially in that Iowa game, but he would get way too deep on his rushes, and they were getting the ball out quick with Nelson on the other side. All this to say, ROI. What is the ROI? If your team, it's hard to win a national championship. So if your ROI is winning a national championship, you have to spend a lot of money every year to do it. Yeah. And then like you win a natty, let's say you win a natty because you paid a lot of money to get these guys, you're going to want to win another one. So then you got to keep doing it.
That's why. So again, I think there's a lot of ego involved.
So
and
much.
At some point it's going to be return on investment, and this ridiculous bidding war is going to cool. But one thing that has done is because, Alabama yesterday, I need to get the New York City cam, because I think that Greg Byrne might be playing the guitar in the subway station with the open case so that people could throw money in there so that Alabama can buy players. How friggin' weird is the irony with all of that? Now that everybody can do it, we need out. But that's the point.
Shout out Sherwood Blunt.
The SEC schools used to pay players. Not everybody was doing it. Now it's legal. Everybody can do it. So what's happening is we are getting this parity. I don't believe in buying a title. Ohio State, if it happens this year, I might change my opinion.
Take that.
But here's what I'm noticing. And this isn't tell us the truth about Nebraska's 1890. I'm just telling you about the truth about college football when it comes to NIL. There is the benefit of parity. I mean, we got Indiana playing tomorrow night.
I know, man.
The Indiana Hoosiers. We got Arizona State.
I know.
So, but
you got SMU.
Now SMU's scary because of the billionaire boosters, and that's going to blow up. But let's use Indiana and Arizona State, by the way, as an example. I think we've got parity. We're always going to have super teams, and the Georgias and the Texases and the Bamas and the Ohio States and the Oregons are still going to be the cock of the walk.
Yeah.
But we are getting more parity because I think there is a benefit to the programs that they do not pay as much across the board. They have a lot of guys that are paid, but they don't have, he's a $2 million guy, he's a $1.5 million guy, he's a $1.3 million guy. Maybe they have 20 guys that are paid $500,000 instead of that, because
I like where you're going.
This happens at Nebraska. This is a parent of a player who his son actually plays in a regular rotation, but he's a younger guy. He told me this. He got upset, and I've known him for a while. He lives here in Omaha. His son played in Omaha High School. He goes, such and such should be playing more, but I get it. Did you know that this guy who came from outside of Nebraska that's playing in the same position group, he makes this much? So it's talked about in the locker room. So if that $2 million quarterback isn't performing, and you're like, and I'm talking from the player perspective, but I think if you spread it across and you're not paying $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, but it's maybe, $500,000 for 25 guys, maybe I could be off. That looks like the Arizona State Indiana model, which does give you hope that you could beat Oregon or Ohio State.
So 3 things here. First thing is, I think it will always come down to high school recruiting. I think that will always have to be the lifeblood of your program.
Boom.
Number 2, if you like the NBA references, I'm gonna keep them going. What you're talking about, $500,000 guys to $1 million, $2 million here. You're talking about the Denver Nugget model compared to the LA Laker model, right?
Or
the Denver
Sonics
Nuggets
giving Jim McElvain all that money.
Yeah, but before that, the Nuggets had to pay all these big guys. They were spending a lot less money on a lot more dudes. Look at the Atlanta Hawks in 2015, 2016. They were spending less money on more dudes, right? So the third thing is, you're going to get to the point, and we see this a lot in the NFL, where coaches and general managers, and there's more general managers in college football as the years go on, feel obligated to play a player because they are paying them X amount of money.
Happened in Nebraska this year,
where we paid a lot for this guy, and even though there's a guy behind him that's better, we have to play him because we paid him this. You see it in the NFL. Hey, this guy isn't that good, but we spent a 2nd-round draft pick on him, and my ass is on the line if I don't. If the head coach doesn't play him, so hey man, you got to play this guy because we're going to look bad because we spent a high draft pick on him. You're going to see that happen. That I do that when I get quick, but yeah, it's hurting right now. I'm sorry. It's couldn't call in sick.
Emmitt Smith against the Giants, 93. Separated
away.
shoulder. That's Matt today. Inspiring.
The rally cry, though, by Greg Byrne. This is so. There's no transparency, and I would be fascinated to have a deep dive and know the ins and outs of Nebraska's NIL package. But Greg Byrne, this is to be expected at Alabama. And before you go, what you talking about, Sharp?
I don't sound like the Grinch.
You are in a relatively small state.
Yeah.
Nebraska has 1.9 million people. How many truly, and I don't know the answer to this, and Alabama is probably this way, because when you think of Alabama, you don't think of money, right? You think of, I wonder if their homes are on wheels.
I like where you're going.
So Alabama, even though Alabama's had this incredible success, and now where everybody can do what you used to do, and the competition is surging, who are you tapping? Because you probably also don't have a lot of rich alumni.
No.
See, that's what probably I would like to have. That's the side, you can't say this on air, but off the record, Nebraska trying to reach out to the NIL world doesn't have as many rich alumni as other schools. So they have to be smarter in that. I could be off, but when Byrne was saying that yesterday, I kind of like, well, the irony. But then I thought, he's the athletic director of a school in a state that isn't just printing money, even though they have a statue of former coaches that are out front and they've had all this success. It's a
Who's their
wild
Phil
world,
Knight,
man.
Who's their Phil Knight?
Well, everybody would like it to be Warren Buffett.
No, I'm not talking about Nebraska. I'm talking
personally, my Phil Knight.
No, I'm saying for Bama. Who's Bama's?
You know what? I think my grandpa, because he owned a feed store in Jessup, Iowa, and they owned some good land. I think my grandpa sat on a lot of money and he did not give it up to his grandchild.
Great NIL opportunity.
Yeah. Is that so personally, or are we talking?
Personally, my Phil Knight's my dad.
Shout out Dad.
Shout out Dad.
Are there like the first? I can tell you a quick story here. The first rich alumni I met from Nebraska was Dan Cook. So the Cook Pavilion in Lincoln is named after Dan Cook. He's from Dallas. He's passed away. Very generous person. But when I was learning about the boosters, like what a booster was, because technically I think I'm a booster, but my donation buys a ream of paper. But I guess technically I'm a booster. Like, and so I was like curious. I was like, okay, what's Dan worth? You know, like how much does he donate? And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And he was very, and still I believe to this day, generous with his donations to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. But we also used to be able to, back in the day, Matt, when it comes to Nebraska, rattle off who the boosters were.
Sure.
Dale Jensen, Dan Cook.
Yeah.
You know, you could, Mr. Hawks.
Yes.
Rest in peace. Going to be a fabulous service at Baxter Arena on Saturday. Nebraska is in a place where you don't have a ton of rich alumni. That's why, like, Creighton's NIL for basketball could be in a good spot because your pool is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are very successful in their businesses right here in the city of Omaha. Now, I know we're comparing Nebraska and Creighton, but it's just, who is the rich alumni? Keep going back to the point you made. Who is the film night that a school like Nebraska in a state of 1.9 million needs and can't find?
A T-boo.
So I'll say this. It's funny. Greg, and I think a lot of people might get annoyed at Greg Burns for going on Twitter and begging Alabama fans to donate because where do you think Nebraska ranks out of 50 states at the highest average household income?
30th?
They're 27th.
Okay.
So basically average.
Decent bowl game.
Basically average. Where do you think Alabama ranks?
They're in the 40s.
They're 44th.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring up a great point. You're asking to pull money from fans in a part of the country that doesn't have a lot of money. And they are a school that doesn't have these rich alumni. And you start thinking like maybe Saban knew the writing was on the wall. Mm-hmm. Maybe Saban had a greater view of Alabama football and how they were not prepared or they didn't have the facilities or resources to compete when everybody can do what they can do. Because listen, Nick Saban, he's a good talker. He can get guys invested in to do some shady stuff when this wasn't legal in order to get guys come to his program. Now that it's legal, I think he had a greater view of where the trajectory of Alabama football was going when he left.
Man,
that's why I got to watch out for that West Texas oil money.
You're begging people in a very poor part of the country to give to your football program when they barely can buy their.
Hey, wouldn't it be nice, like the ranches that are out in western Nebraska, like Ted Turner? You've taken up a lot of our land in the state. How about giving back? I wonder also this with NIL is okay. So for people that are just tuning in, Nebraska wanted the number one offensive tackle. They went around the world with Isaiah, and he decided to go to the Pacific Northwest. Why not? They're the number one seed. They might win the national championship, and right now they are an absolute wagon. But Nebraska's getting involved in some higher names, and they are making some financial packages and presentations. Is what if, and this is hypothetical, so don't go crazy yet. Dane Key commits to Nebraska, the transfer from Kentucky, who everybody and my brother says he's going to Georgia, but again, why is he visiting Nebraska if that's the case? But what if Nebraska locks him up this weekend? How much would it do for you as a fan who maybe have already donated to 1890 or thinking about it if there was a comment of, hey, because of this big push, and they have this big, what are they trying to get? Donations from every county in Nebraska?
Yeah,
I think that's what they're
and they're trying to
40,
match. Aren't they trying to match at 250, something like that?
But what if they came out and said, hey, because of you, Husker fans, we were able to lock down Dane Key. What kind of reaction would it be? Would it elicit from somebody that donated that went, yeah, baby, that's my return on investment. I just recently gave you $5,000, and that probably went to get me a wide receiver. Now, a year later, if Dane Key performs like Malachi Coleman, you're like, I want my $5,000 back. But in the moment, you go, oh, I made a difference. Because you don't ever see, like subtly, coaches will say, hey, because of our fans, man, we were able to. You around here, I wonder what the impact would be if you said that in not so many words.
You just summed up the main problem of NIL, right? It's a little bit like the NFL draft. At the end of the draft, at the end of the 3 days, everyone's saying, we're a winner. We won the draft. We got an A+, and oh, you're a loser. You got a C-. And then 4 years down the line, we figure out who the winners and losers really were, right? Same thing with NIL. We call guys winners. We say, I made a difference. You'll find out. You'll find out if you really made a difference and if this was really worth it.
So one final point, then we got to take a break because we got SIP coming up here, is Nebraska is, I don't know that they're going to get it done before Christmas, but shortly thereafter, if it's not done here in the next couple of days, they're going to unveil the gigantic stadium project. So you have 1890s trying to secure athletes, reward retention, bring them on in. And you can't necessarily see the return on investment. But if Troy Dannon says to me, hey, you want to be more comfortable in the stadium in your seats? A little bit of money? I can see that. So see the balance that's about to go on at Nebraska? It goes back to, you got to turn the faucet on to winning. If you can't turn the faucet, if you turn the faucet on to winning, the funds, that rancher in Western Nebraska will find some cash in the middle of the field where there's a lot of manure that's been on the ground. But they're about to go into an interesting spot here. 5-7, 6-6. We need players. We need help. Guys want bags, but fans want to be comfortable. Where's your money going?
Eventually, people are going to be asking, what more else can I do to help you win? That'll be the question.
Or will it be the reverse, Matt? What have you guys done to win? Steve Sipple going to join us here in just a moment. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, tonight, Nebraska volleyball, Penn State, where winning is all that matters at the University of Nebraska volleyball program. They take on Penn State in the Final Four, lost to Penn State at Rec Hall. But you would never know if you listened to Nebraska yesterday. If they are in the Final Four, they feel awful comfortable. So that's tonight here on The Zone, Thursday Night Football. Good one. Denver and the Chargers.
Yeah. I'm in for so I take it you listen to the volleyball press conferences?
Yes.
I'm just anytime any of those women talk, I'm just impressed. I mean, they're all very smart, very well spoken, very
say
humble.
they are personable?
I think so.
They got a great personality.
It's an easy. I'm telling you right now, man. Easy team to root for. And you see Lexi talk, and you see Merritt talk, and then John has really empowered their individuals. But the confidence. When Merritt said it's not us versus Wisconsin, it's not us versus Penn State, it's just us. It's just us. And that's the type of mentality you need to have when you're a top team with top talent.
That I don't think there's any radio coverage for that, is there, Jimmy? It's ESPN.
Yeah.
There's no
well, we're not.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Omaha.
We don't carry the Westwood broadcast.
I know.
But we will carry Thursday Night Football. I did not realize this. Okay. This game was flexed into Thursday night.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
Hey, how about screwing the fans? Like
did we get robbed of Commies Bears again?
Man, the NFL has me, you, and the guy named Blue bent over, and they are just giving it to us. And we say, hey, can I have another? They flexed this game to Thursday night. Like what? Maybe think about the fans. Like, what if I was a Bronco fan that wanted to go spend the weekend in L.A. and all of a sudden this game gets flexed to a Thursday? I can't take off work. There goes my trip.
It was 3 weeks ago, and I think they believed it would be a better game until the Chargers got thumped last week against Tampa Bay. Which, by the way, I think a sharp bet right now would be Tampa to win the NFC. If you want to get in on good odds right now,
like the Bears beating the Vikings.
I'd buy that.
I think that's if you want to try and get a bang for your buck and make a great bet.
Won a playoff game last year.
I think, look, this is a team that's got the Eagles number. I think Detroit is done. Too many injuries. I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it. I can't stand the Lions. But I think it's a great score for the NFL. They're done. So it's the Eagles. I think the Falcons, unless Penix Jr. can give them a boost, they're done.
I love Penix Jr. He's 24, and he was at Costco ready to buy a hot dog when he found out yesterday. There is nothing more suburban dad than that.
There's Costco right by my house. I love it. But it's a 4-team race right now in the NFC. Vikings, Packers, Eagles, Buccaneers.
So Tampa against the Chiefs. Okay.
I think it's a sharp bet.
Revenge.
I think it's a sharp bet.
Yeah, there you go.
So Denver Chargers tonight. Broncos are playing really well. Oh my God! I almost went into convulsion there, saying the Broncos are playing well. Chargers are struggling. They're 1-3 in their last 4.
Yeah.
So that'll be the game on The Zone. So if you're calling to go, where is Nebraska volleyball? You're gonna have to watch it on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Is Karch Karai doing the game?
I would think so.
Doesn't he do all the volleyball?
Mm-hmm.
Paul Sunderland and Karch Karai.
Paul's everywhere.
We're big Karch fans on the radio station.
Karch, is that short for something?
No, legendary volleyball Olympic coach,
dude.
Okay,
he came into studio one time, and he wouldn't leave. Like we were like, we'll devote about 20 minutes to talking U.S. Olympic volleyball.
Co-hosted all shows after.
So
that.
we ended the interview and we were on. Like he just stood. Like I didn't know if he wanted to be like the third wheel on the talk show.
What did you say to him?
He just kind of stood there and watched us.
Wait, he didn't say, did you not turn on the microphone and let him go? Or
we didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
So he just stood there, and then the next segment he was like, "Hey guys, thanks for the time," and he just walked out. He did not have a take on Mo Cisse or anything like that back in the day. Steve Sipple's got plenty of takes. He stops by next. Santa Sipple on Gary and Matt. Also, at the top of the hour, for the first time since it was announced that Nebraska and Boston College would be in a bowl game together, we're actually going to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl, but only for just a little bit. Just for a little bit. We'll talk more about Jared Mayo being clueless and why was he ever hired as the Patriots coach. We'll talk to a guy from the Boston Globe. And Brian Edwards will stop by to wrap up a Thursday edition of Gary Matt in 1620 The Zone. All right, time to visit with our good friend. Whoa, Jimmy! I just saw this TV.
Oh. Yeah.
That's a close up. Whoa!
Get back here.
Wow, it looks like I got spots. Let's welcome in. None of that. From on3.com, Husker Online, and 93.7 The Ticket, where you can hear him in the morning. Go ahead and listen to him after we're off the air. It's Steve Sipple. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Can you speak up a little bit louder?
Seriously.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Sound great.
Are you on Bluetooth?
No, it's just there's some complications, but as long as you can hear me, we're all right.
Yeah, if there's anything that needs to be taken care of, you just let us know and give us some play-by-play, like if you're being attacked or anything like that.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'm driving, which is.
No,
it's not a good idea. I'm gonna pull off as soon as I get a chance.
Okay. Play Santa Sipple here. Deliver a gift for the Nebraska football fan this weekend. What do you think might happen that is a bit of good news for Nebraska football?
I think the top two pieces of good news would be getting Isaiah Hunter from Cal. You guys have probably talked about him a lot. That's probably your best shot. To get a bigger body receiver, 6'2", 210 pounds 40 catches, I think 578 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 years left to play. That would be great development for Dylan Raiola. And then if you could get that Washington State tackle, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. He's a Polynesian, and he's a multi-year starter at Washington State. I think I mean, you could sell me on either one is the most important. Some people are going to say the big body is the one that's the most important. It's close in my mind. Those two are the big ones.
Sip, been doing a lot of reading on Husker Online. You guys are doing a great job over there covering the craziness that is the portal. And so I was reading a couple of things there, and it just seems like either Nebraska is in second or they're in a heated battle between other schools to get a lot of these targets. Are you concerned at all that this might be, a lot of swings and misses from this Nebraska team, considering the fact that they still have plenty of holes to fill for this team next year?
Matt, thank you for the compliment, number one. I wouldn't express any level of disappointment yet.
Okay.
I would. I mean, I think you got to see how it is at the end of the weekend.
Sure.
Like I said, it's not just those two guys that are important. For instance, I think his name is Mempenda, the edge rusher from Georgia that materialized on Nebraska's radar yesterday. That's a big one. That would be, that would be huge news. And there's, the kid that's Marshall, the kid from Idaho, the defensive back. You're going to probably get, I think you might get him today.
Okay.
That's my sense. No, not yet. I wouldn't. Matt, you're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get everybody that comes to your campus. There's a lot of money being thrown around in a lot of different places. And I would say right now that what they got, I think they've done a really good job to get the 4 that they have in the boat.
Yeah.
Williams, Winery, Kevin Gallick, the long snapper from New Hampshire. Is it Jalen George from East Tennessee State? And then who am I missing? There's a 4th.
You got the punter, McAllister.
Thank you. So I think they really, right now, I feel really good about what they've done. And I would not say I'm disappointed. And I would be disappointed if they don't get Dane Key or Isaiah Hunter.
Could they get them both?
They don't get a tackle that you would judge to be someone who could come in and play right away. Then I would say, a little disappointed.
Could they get both wide receivers, do you think?
It seems like Dane. I mean, I read Sean Callahan covers this stuff at a super high level. Sean, I just saw that the line in his story. The line in his story that Dane Key might be a Georgia lean. I think it'd be hard to pull both. It'd be great if you just had another scenario like Nayor Banks, but it's a little bit better, and I think it would be better if you got Key and Hunter. But that might be a lot to ask.
Let me ask you about the running back room, because our good friend who would always greet you and say, "Hey, guy," Vince Morrow, who is very good at what he does, and now he's got a bag to share with all of the Kentucky recruits. Dante Dowdell is going to visit Kentucky, so Dante is out. There's not a lot of running back interest that Nebraska is going after. So is that looking at the current running back room, who's on their way? And you write about this, about Matt Rule has a plan that he doesn't, even though it might seem like there's chaos, they always have a plan. Maybe their plan wasn't to lose Dowdell, but is their plan to just roll with what they have in that running back room from Emmett Johnson all the way, you throw in an Ives, you go down to a Nelson, you go down to a Parker, you go down to a Booth. Where would you say that Nebraska's comfort level is right now with the running back room?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think that's a great question for Matt Rule tomorrow. These are opinions we all have. My opinion is they need somebody like at least a reasonable facsimile of Dowdell, just another that type of back. Okay, I'll just say it this way. I guess the best way to put it is this: it would be great if you could go get someone that would challenge Emmett Johnson for number one, or surpass him. I mean, is that player available? I would think so. I mean, I know I have not talked to Matt Rule about this. I have not gotten a sense of this from anybody in the program that's a priority. It would be a priority for me if it was if it was my team. I'd be trying to get someone who can press Emmett Johnson. Maybe they feel Ives can press him, or Nelson.
Matt loves Ives. Matt loves Ives.
I just like the tape. I like what he did in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope you're right, and I hope you're right. I hope Quentin Ives is the type of player that comes on, that develops. Usually you don't always see that at running back. Usually a running back comes onto your campus and right away.
Sure.
That hasn't been the case with Ives. So, but he could be an anomaly.
Sip, you got to tell me if I'm taking crazy pills here or not. This team has a need at middle linebacker. I mean, there's just right now with Bullock being gone, Thompson in the transfer portal, Bayer in the transfer portal. It seems like this is an obvious hole that, Thompson's in transfer portal, Bayer is at Mizzou now, but you see, this is an obvious hole that they need to fill. And not only they don't have a transfer portal commit right now to them, they haven't, I don't even think they've taken a straight visitor from a middle linebacker position. So is there anyone that's on there? Is this a position, Steve, that it seems like they are needy to fill from the portal? Or do you think that there's someone that maybe we don't fully know about that they truly believe can come in and step in and fill the middle linebacker position?
No, I think they could use an inside linebacker or two. I mean, now it depends what, sometimes these conversations are a little bit layered in that, okay, you have Shavers and you feel good about Shavers. Is as simple as saying, well, you also have McGahee, who does play Jack. He plays that Jack spot too, but could you just say, no, you're going to be playing inside backer? And then it's not necessarily problem solved, but you have Vince Genatone. You probably have some guys on the roster that you're not even thinking about, younger guys. I'd have to assess it a little more. I haven't assessed it.
Okay.
Those losses are, when you talk about losing Bullock, Javin Wright, and Bayer, those are three huge losses. Huge. Changes the look of the defense quite a bit. I wonder if there's a guy, what I wonder, Matt, is if there's a guy, there's a whole nother part of the conversation that we haven't really had, which is South Dakota State, and South Dakota, and North Dakota State, and Montana State are in the Final Four of the FCS playoff.
Sure.
There's going to be players available there. I bet if you looked at those rosters, you'd find some pretty good inside linebackers. So I wonder about. I've wondered about it yesterday. No, you're not taking crazy pills. Those three guys that we mentioned that they lost are critical pieces, all of them.
Hey, so Matt Rule speaks with the media tomorrow. Give me the percentage of questions that are centered around the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope there's some. Now, some of this, though, is dictated by the fact that he will be available next week.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be on a Zoom call the day before the game, and it's possible some media will say, hey, we're just going to wait till next week and then talk to him then. And I think the coordinators are going to be available on a day next week, too, with some players. And maybe the media just says, I will just wait till next week.
This is a weird world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's not like it's not one of the way. Matt's young and he doesn't remember. Me and Gary are older guys, so we remember when the bowl season was God, we covered a bowl season. It was all about the bowl season.
I remember the Music City Bowl against Tennessee. We talked about it for 3 weeks. Probably on your show, and you guys when you're on the video with Sean and Robin on our show, people don't want to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl. They want to talk about who's coming and who's going. And we're now, 2+ weeks from, or almost 3 weeks away from when the announcement was made where Nebraska was going?
Yeah, I almost have to remind myself that they're over there. This was a full week of bowl practice. I mean, they're over there. They are. I mean, they're practicing, and it would probably feel a lot different to us if we were over there.
True.
Sure. And if we could watch practice and see what's going on and see what Heinrich Harburg looks like at tight end and how's Dylan looking, and watching just watching those seniors in their final practices, the veteran players. I bet we'd feel a lot different. I bet we'd feel quite a bit different about this, but we're not. And the conversation outside the program is, you're right, it's about the portal.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I remember when Northwestern won the Outback Bowl, and it was a really big deal when I was 12. So I was at the end. I was at the end of bowl season.
I remember when Solich ran up the score in the Alamo Dome against Northwestern.
Hell yes, I was there. Shout out Eric.
Were you there, Matt? You can't have been there.
No, he wasn't born yet.
No, I wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind at that point.
God, you're young. Good God, I was old at that game.
All right, hey, so Sip, I brought up a little bit of a point to Gare earlier in the show, and I think it might be a life comes at you fast type deal, where I think a couple of weeks ago when it was first announced that T. White and Terrence Knighton were going to Florida State, and then all the departures from the D-line, that became a position you were very, very worried about. And you would almost say that was minus the departures from the linebacker room, that it was a weaker position group, the defensive backs. Now that you have Winery, now that you have Jalen George, and now there might be a little bit of movement here with Patrick Payton, who's transferring from Florida State, and there's some previous connections there. If Payton ends up coming here, and I don't know if he's fully on the radar, but even if they pick up another explosive edge, would you go as far to say that the D-line in the matter of 10 days has turned from your weak point to maybe back to being the strong point of the defense?
No, I wouldn't go that far, but
okay,
I'm not worried about it.
Sure.
Or I'm not. Am I worried about it? No, I'm not terribly worried about it. Some of it is kind of to be determined, and there's some guys that I just don't know too much about on the roster. But on the surface, getting Keona White back was gigantic.
Yes.
Van Poppel is so highly regarded that so highly regarded within the program, and we've seen it. I mean, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
We've seen of him is pretty good. Elijah Judy becomes really, really, really important in this discussion. He's going to play a lot. I did watch film of Williams and Winery, and that's an oh damn player.
Sure.
When you watch, your first words are oh damn. I mean, that you get that. That 5-star thing is real. I mean, that's just I don't mind saying it because he was so ballyhooed, and he's got the 5-star. He just looks like a bigger version of Randy Gregory. I mean, Gregory was 6'5", 235, 6'5", maybe 6'6", and this kid's 6'6", 255, and reminds me of Randy a lot. Just long arms, covers so much ground, and bats down a lot of passes. I gotta think you just got to get him right. It's kind of like Randy. Just get him right.
Yeah.
And if he's right, you don't have to be Bill Parcells to see it. That's a difference maker. So I feel pretty good about it. I don't know. I just kind of wait now. I think as a fan, as a media member, you just sort of have to wait to see what it looks like when the dust clears.
Sure.
Right? Assessing it on the fly, we have to do because we have to fill airtime, but it's kind of doesn't mean that much to me. I want to see what it all looks like. Oh, I guess in June and July. You know, that's like, I'm kind of like that.
Yeah. Sip, enjoy the volleyball tonight. Enjoy portaling. We might see you tomorrow. And if we will don't speak before the holidays, safe trips out to New York City, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas, my friend.
You guys are great. I appreciate it. Thanks for the good questions, and take care.
Hey,
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sip.
Steve Sipple's become a promo for Gary and Matt.
Ardent supporter.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl, but from the Boston College perspective.
I love that.
Ooh, so good. We've made it to the 19th. We thought Ty or Nash might opt out. I thought maybe Ty because of the field.
Sure.
We also thought the wreck havoc defensive end for Boston College might. Right now, everybody that is in that ilk is playing. But it's time to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl. I was hearing the roar. Ty got his NFL draft grade back. I'll tell you what round that he is projected in.
Absolutely.
We'll talk some Boston College and Nebraska Pinstripe Bowl coming up next. Brian Edwards as well in the last hour. Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. All right, for people that don't know around here, A week from Saturday in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, there's going to be a team from Boston playing there that there will be noise for and people cheering. Then there'll be a team from Nebraska that'll be there. They call it the Pinstripe Bowl. The weather doesn't look bad. It'll be the Pinstripe Bowl 1 week from Saturday for Nebraska and Boston College. And with that, let's welcome in from the Boston Globe. Covers a little bit of everything, including Boston College football. Trevor Haas, he joins us now on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline. Good morning, Trevor.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're a longtime New Englander. You cover a lot of different stuff. Let's first start here because around here, when we say, hey, Boston College football, and we start naming dudes, it's Flutie, Phelan, Matt Ryan, Steve Adazio. Don't hold that against us. Where, with Bill O'Brien coming to Boston College, which is a name, where does, in the landscape of non-pro sports, where does Boston College football rank in the Boston area?
Well, there's no denying it's a pro town. I mean, when you think about it, you just think about the Patriots and the Celtics immediately. The Red Sox are right there. The Bruins. It's been fun to grow up here. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. I mean, I've seen tons of championships. It's been a great time. As a fan and then as a media member. Now that I'm an adult, it's been very enjoyable. But I think BC is definitely putting itself on the map a little bit. I think this year, it's kind of been under Bill O'Brien. They're kind of taking that next step where people are paying more attention. They're coming to games more. They're kind of realizing, there is a college team here. I think, like you said, when you think about food and you think about Matt Ryan, I think there was buzz back then. I think it kind of disappeared for a couple of decades. And, obviously they're the diehard fans who come to every game, but in terms of the general landscape of the city. But now I think it is creeping back in. So I think a bowl game win would go a long way in terms of building that momentum and keeping it rolling. So I'll be curious to see how they do.
Yeah, Trevor, as a lifelong Chicago sports fan, I'm incredibly jealous of your Boston sports upbringing. I would trade for that in an instant. I got to ask you, though, and I think this is it's always interesting to get another writers and professionals perspective of the Nebraska football program. And I think that people are always curious about what people who aren't necessarily within the market think about where Nebraska is going. So I would love to get your outlook. And what do you think the general outlook of Boston sports is on Nebraska football currently right now, as you guys are kind of preparing and looking at the team ahead of the Pinstripe Bowl?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think when I just think of Nebraska outside of this game and outside of BC, I just think of a great tradition where they've had tons of winning teams over the years. And, I think it's obviously on a greater scale than BC in terms of the success they've had, but I think it's similar in that they're trying to get back on the map. So I think a game like this can go a long way for both programs that have had successful years in the past and really want to get back to that national relevance. So, excuse me. So like I said, obviously Nebraska is a different level there, but I think it is an interesting concept how both programs have had their glory years and then been down or trying to get back. So I'll be curious to see which team gets momentum from this game.
Good year for Boston College at 7-5. Some good wins on the ledger. Can you walk us through how they were able to navigate the drama when we're watching from afar, Trevor? Boston College go into Tallahassee and win on a Monday night, and we're like, man, Castellanos a good quarterback. Now we get to November. He's out. He's in the portal. He's already transferred. And Grayson James, who transferred from FIU, is the starting quarterback. How'd they navigate, which could have seemed to be a lot of drama, but they finished up with a good month of November with James at the quarterback.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been a pretty interesting season to cover. I've really enjoyed the kind of the drama of it. Like you said, it's been intriguing, so that's been fun to write about. So Castellanos had a really strong year last year. He played really well against SMU in the Fenway Bowl and led them to a big win there, which obviously seems even more impressive now considering what SMU is doing. So kudos to him on that. And then, sorry, I'm getting over COVID, so bear with me. So he played well to start the year, and they had that big win over Florida State. And like you said, at that point, it was like, wow, this team can really do something. Castellanos is pretty legit. And then they were 4-1. They got ranked after week 2 for the first time since 2018, which was pretty impressive. And then it kind of went downhill. So Castellanos had a concussion, which I think may have contributed to kind of the downfall there. And Bill O'Brien's obviously an incredible coach. He's had a great track record, but I think the key there is that they were trying to make him more of a pocket passer because that fits O'Brien's style more. But Castellanos is at his best when he's running wild and kind of doing unpredictable things with his legs. So I think it was kind of like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole is what I keep saying. So I think it kind of worked early in the year because he was, playing well and he wasn't overthinking the game. But once he started overthinking, I think it kind of went downhill. So they fell to 4-4, and then people were kind of freaking out, like the sky was falling, like the team may not win another game, which was actually a legitimate thought. They might have finished 4-8 if they had stuck with Castellanos. And I like covering Tommy. I think he's had some good moments, but they were not playing well. So I think it was definitely the right decision to switch to James. And James is kind of a cool story. I wrote a feature on him a couple weeks ago. So he he was basically out of offers. He was going to go to UT Martin, an FCS school, after FIU. And then that offer fell through, and he was kind of scrambling, like, what am I going to do? I want to keep playing. And then BC reached out, and he ended up coming to BC and, earned the starting job after Castellanos left. And now he's playing really well, and he's been awesome. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC since he took over. So kudos to him for capitalizing on his opportunity. It's been kind of interesting, and I think he'll play well in this game, whether BC wins or not. I expect Grayson James to show up as he has every game.
So, Trevor, you bring up Grayson James. Just kind of educate us here on the Boston College Golden Eagles. What are some players that you think that Nebraska fans should be watching out for? What are some of the characteristics of this team that might potentially give the Huskers fits come bowl time?
Yeah, so I think the key to this game is whether both teams can stop the run. I think both teams have pretty skilled at stopping the run, but I think BC has a really strong running game. So I think if Nebraska can kind of get the Eagles into second and long, third and long, Nebraska will have a pretty good chance to win. But if BC milks the clock and gets a lot of long drives, I think BC will have a good chance. So BC at its best is a team that runs the ball heavily and then kind of mixes it up with some play action and some deep passes. So one guy to keep an eye on is Reed Harris. He's a freshman. He's actually from Montana, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And he's a really promising player, redshirt freshman. He's a guy who I think will make the NFL eventually. He's like 6'5" and really good hands, really good route runner. So I've been impressed by him. He's kind of starting to figure it out as a redshirt freshman. Kai Robichaux is a running back who's just very solid. He's like, when you think of just dependable player, he's just extremely reliable, just does his job, never fumbles. Now he probably will, but never fumbles. Scores touchdowns when he should. So I've been impressed by him throughout his career. Drew Kendall and Ozzie Trapillo are two linemen who are excellent. They're local kids, so it's always cool to see when local kids do well at their school. Defensively, obviously, Donovan Ezeraku is the star. We'll see if he plays in this game. He's the kind of guy who strikes me as someone who would play just because that's how he's wired, but also you have to think about your future, so you never really know what will happen there. But he's been their best player by a mile. He's a defensive end. He led the country in sacks, which some people may not know, which is kind of insane. So good for him. It's kind of an interesting story with him, too. So last year, he was not great, and he would be the first to tell you that. He kind of burst onto the scene as a sophomore and then took a step back as a junior and wasn't really playing that well. I think teams kind of realized he was the guy, and he was overthinking the game. And this year he kind of got back to his roots and just started playing football again the way he knows how. And he's really been one of the best players in the entire country. He was a first-team All-American for the AP, so kudos to him. Cam Arnold may or may not play in this game. He's been dealing with an arm injury, but good linebacker. Max Tucker is a good guy in the secondary. So those are some of the main guys, but definitely a balanced team that likes to run the ball. And when they're at their best, they're getting a lot of interceptions and playing well in the secondary. So we shall see.
So there are people in Lincoln that are like, you know what? I think Ezeraku, you should just get ready for the NFL draft. What's your gut say? Because we are on the 19th of December, and we've worried about a guy like Ty Robinson in Nebraska. Is he gonna opt out to get ready for the draft? What's your gut say? Will Ezeraku just go forward and he will play in this game?
I would put it at probably like 65% yes. Just from I've covered him for 4 years, and he's a really, really competitive guy. Obviously, if you're playing D1 football, you're competitive, but he really is extremely competitive, like more than the average guy. So I think he has some unfinished business to tend to. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that this will be BC's first 8-win season since 2009 if they can win this game. So there's a lot at stake here. They've kind of been building toward this. I mean, they obviously had the Fenway Bowl win last year, which was a big stepping stone, but this would feel like a significant milestone to get the 8 wins and beat a team like Nebraska at Yankee Stadium. I think it would be kind of the perfect send-off for him. So there's obviously a chance, like I'm sure people are telling him, you gotta think about the future. Excuse me, he might be a first or second round pick, so you may have to, do what you have to do, but I would expect him to play if I had to guess.
Trevor, so this is a more local game for Boston College than it is for Nebraska. I know that there were a lot of people here who were kind of disappointed with the location, with flights, the time of year, the weather, and whatnot. So do you anticipate a bigger Boston College crowd going to Yankee Stadium? Do you have a pulse on whether or not you think it could potentially be a home game for the Eagles, or do you think this would probably be a little bit more of a split stadium in terms of attendance?
Yeah, I expect a split. I think the Nebraska brand is so recognizable, and I think people will be excited that they're back in a bowl game, and they'll travel to this game. So I think people will be there from Nebraska's side, and you guys would know better than I would, but I would expect it to be pretty well attended. And then BC-wise, I think you'll be well attended as well. I think last year at the Fenway Bowl, it was a really strong attendance, and it was a messy game. It was ugly. It was rainy, and it really played in a BC style, and they kind of, put their brand back on the map a little bit. So I think the more rain, the better for BC. And like you said, the weather doesn't look too bad, which we'll take with an outdoor press box. But it's not looking terrible, not looking great. So I expect this to be a pretty solid crowd from both sides. I don't think it will be overflowing, but I think it will be pretty evenly distributed and well attended.
Hey, Trevor, we'll get you out on this, and I'm gonna tap into your love of Boston sports. So, the weird world that is college football. Well, Boston College and Nebraska are going to play in a baseball stadium. Bill Belichick will be somewhere at Fenway Park watching his future North Carolina team play. We miss out on the schedule in the ACC that North Carolina doesn't come to Boston College. But if that was the case, what would be the response if Bill Belichick came and was coaching in Chestnut Hill at Alumni Stadium wearing North Carolina gear?
I mean, the whole thing has been pretty shocking, honestly. When it kind of surfaced that it may be a possibility, I was honestly, I would say astonished. Like, I just never saw this coming. I saw UNC play BC a few weeks ago, and BC absolutely dominated that game. BC's had a pretty solid season, but they're not in the cream of the crop when it comes to the national brand. So they destroyed UNC, and so it's just kind of interesting that Belichick would take that job, considering what he's accomplished in his career. But I think he looked at the NFL landscape and thought that there wasn't really anything for him, and I don't think teams are as interested as, in my opinion, they should be. But so I think he decided to go back to his roots and go where his dad coached, and I think it's pretty cool. I don't think they're going to naturally vault into being a national contender, but I do think they'll improve under him, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. So yeah, I think it will be interesting too at the Fenway Bowl, where people are coming in baby blue and they've got their Belichick gear and they got their visors ready to watch them. So I'm curious to see how it all shakes out, and I'm excited.
Hey, great stuff, Trevor. We hope you get better and you can enjoy the holidays. And we thank you for your insight. Good interview. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Trevor.
That was good.
That was great.
I like Trevor.
I like him a lot. I don't know. Maybe if the Patriots end up going to the Super Bowl or something, we should bring him in. I mean, that guy is
buy tickets.
Maybe with Mayo, maybe not. But yeah, maybe the next go. Maybe Mike Vrabel.
Look, they're the kind of people who you listen to and you can tell they're very intelligent and well read. He was one of them. That was a hell of an interview from him.
Hey, first time we've had somebody on the air that is battling COVID while they're on the air?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a lot of people. Talk about a flu game, man. I mean, I thought what I was doing was brave. That was quite incredible.
You sounded pretty good. Sound better than I did when I had COVID.
Sounds better than me.
So worth it.
You guys had COVID?
I got COVID.
I'm like on a Ripken streak right now.
Guess when I got COVID?
When it first started. You were first.
December 24th. I got COVID Christmas Eve.
I got it New Year's Eve. Well, the symptoms came out after my Liberty Bowl trip.
I spent the entire Christmas in my basement. And let me tell you something.
Lucky.
Ho, ho, ho.
It was awesome.
It was
great.
Yeah.
I got fed meals. I had my PS4. I was playing video games.
People.
One day, my brother snuck me down a 12-pack of Coors. It was something, man. I'm going to tell you right now, my dad was starting to get mad because him and I are very close. He's like my best friend. He was pissed that I was having such a great time on my own. I loved it.
Man,
I recommend.
Same. It was worth it when I went to my bowl game and we all got it and came back, got an extra week off of work. Shout out Dan for filling in.
I have been stung by a bee more recent than getting COVID, and I've never gotten COVID.
You're an animal.
I am the Cal Ripken streak of avoiding
Does he
COVID.
know your whole policy with now that he's sitting next to you? You can't,
yeah. I will choke you out if you give me COVID.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just in general, well, yeah, I know company policy. If I'm sick, I'll do the show from home.
That's nothing to do with the company. That's just him.
Yeah.
How would you know?
Just you.
How would you know if it was me though?
Because I'm probably going to spend a lot of time around you.
I
Because
thought
the other person I spend a lot of time around, I would know if she had COVID or not.
Fair enough.
Because she's pretty honest.
Yeah. I will be honest.
She goes, I might have the vid. And then like an hour later, say, I feel okay. I'm like, okay, let's go through. So with Grayson James starting a quarterback for Boston College, it actually benefits Nebraska because he's more of a pocket passer.
Yeah.
So the whole dynamic of the Pinstripe Bowl is we want to see the young guys play, right? But then you have Ty and Nash who have said that they want to play every snap.
Oh, yeah.
So they do. So Ty and Nash want to play every single snap next Saturday in the Bronx. We were doing this yesterday. Like, who has the most to gain? And we all went young players. Could we make a case that Ty Robinson has the most to gain because Boston College wants to run the ball, and you look at a guy like Ty Robinson who because of his natural power and, his ability to play the run, could have a nice little long, maybe not a frontline guy, but a nice long NFL career because of the natural power and what he does. There's always a spot for you on an NFL roster. Is Ty Robinson has been given a 4th round grade. I don't know that a bowl game would change that, or even individual workouts or a trip to the combine. But think about, there's somebody that actually could maybe get some good stock rising with some good tape in this bowl game. Just an interesting dynamic of the old guys that we all kind of want to shove out the door, but they get one good go around, and Ty and Nash are like, hell no. Hey, new D-line coach. I'm playing every snap. Let Van Poppel play in the spring game. But Ty Robinson, he's 4th round grade. This may be a game where he shines, and all of a sudden, like he's at the Senior Bowl, and you're like, hey, remember that game against Boston College?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think Ty Robinson has the most key game from this game.
Well, I'm saying he has one of them.
An
older guy.
No, I know. I think it's Nash Hutmaker. Because here's why. Ty's getting drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Ty's there. Whether or not it's 4th round, 5th round, 3rd round, cool. Ty's going to be in the league. And dude, rightfully so. He is, what a development story, and he's got a great body, super strong, really good hand. Like he's the type of dude, I really think he'll be in the league for a while. And that's not just me being, Nebraska grad, whatever. I think he will be. But I think Nash Hutmaker has more to gain than Ty Robinson because, and this is a great tool. You ever use an NFL mock draft database?
We'll do it right now.
So basically, NFL mock draft database tracks where players go in every sort of mock draft. So they'll tell you, if you type in a player, they'll tell you essentially what was the last article written about them being drafted.
429 drafts right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to create my own mock draft.
So basically, on this database, you can look up Nash Hutmaker, and Nash Hutmaker has shown up in one draft in the last couple of days, and he was a round 7 pick, and it was written by a Kansas City Chiefs article, right? So this is a guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nash Hutmaker, who is a round 6 guy. The other one written before that was round 7 to the Steelers. The one written before that in October was round 6 to the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a guy who's teetering on being drafted and being a free agent. And you know better than I do, there's a big difference between being an undrafted rookie free agent and being a draft pick. Because you really got to.
Actually might benefit him to be a UDFA.
Well, yeah, to pick to where he wants to go, his best situation. Absolutely. But in terms of making the team, like you got to battle in rookie camp. There's a lot more battles you got to go through than just being a draft pick, right? So I think that I agree with you. Ty's got the opportunity to raise his draft stock and make a lot more money and put himself in a really good situation. But Nash, I think this is bigger for him because he may not get drafted. So if he has a really good game, he takes himself from being a round 7 to out of the draft to a round 7, round 6, maybe even a round 5 guy if he's got a good Senior Bowl.
Ty Robinson, it says here, has a 0.2% chance of being drafted in the first round. Are those good odds?
Hey, you're saying there's a chance?
The guy at Arrowhead Attic has him as a 3rd round guy,
dude,
but he got a 4th round grade.
Arrowhead Attic, or are you talking about Nash or
no,
Ty? Yeah, Arrowhead Addict is addicted. They must be a Husker over there.
Is it
because
Ben?
He's got Nash Hutmaker
Audie?
too. He's got 2 drafts of Nash Hutmaker.
One more guy. Let's see here.
I've been using this for a while.
Ooh, I just put in Tommy Hill.
Yeah, where's he at?
No results found.
There you go. It's interesting.
Good thing that he got told to go prepare for the NFL draft.
Man, I'll
maybe get drafted.
Look, I know that there might be a little bit more to it, but plantar fasciitis is one nasty injury. I mean, it's just it's tough to play on.
We're in the 06 Spurs.
Tough to play on. It is
tough to play him if you want to further your program.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break. I have hold on here. I think he may have. When we come back, he can't join us because he's busy. We have a key for tonight from the voice of Nebraska volleyball, John Baylor. He's still typing as I speak.
Oh, Gerster.
Real quick. Tommy Hill, latest one in November, round 6 mock draft.
We'll always have the pick 6 against CU.
Always, dude, I think the greatest sporting moment I've ever witnessed. We can talk about that later. Yeah.
You've been at some
big games.
You went to the
A
World
singular
Series at
moment.
Wrigley.
Singular.
Was that pick six?
Singular moment.
Was
I'm
the
not
pick six?
Yes. Them on the goal line. It felt like everybody knew that was going to happen. It felt like people. It was permeating throughout the building that was going to occur. That was the opportunity. And I've never seen. I literally had people in front of me go pick six here. Literally, we're like, this is where we're going to score.
I thought it was pretty cool. Tommy Hill, he had his Super Bowl moment, and then he retired.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
More keys from the voice of Nebraska volleyball coming up next. Brian Edwards as well on 1620 The Zone. Hold on. Nebraska football doesn't have their itinerary out for the bowl game, do they? Like where they're staying?
I don't know where they're staying, but I don't know the full play-by-play itinerary, but they are going to the Christmas tree. They're going to the Rockettes. They're going to the 9/11 Memorial. They're going to the Stock Exchange.
Duncan's Toy Chest.
I don't know. I don't think it's out for Is it typically out for public knowledge? Like, hey, they're going here at this day at this time.
Because I think for media.
But let me check if I have.
But
an
it
email.
is. I don't know. There's not like a lot of opportunities for fans to interact with the team. Like, there's no public
big
pup rally. The band has been cut in half. So this is why I want to look this up. Where Nebraska is staying is a hotel that is quite famous.
The Fisker?
It isn't the Plaza.
Famous for recent events in New York City.
Oh, is it the one where the why did I get so excited? Where the United Healthcare guy?
We got to look this up.
Is it that?
All hotels in New York City are famous because they might show up in movies or on the nightly news.
Here, let me
So we'll look that up. Okay, so Gester, AB, I'm in Louisville. Been here 3 times this year. I got to Churchill Downs. I put $2 on win, place, and show for Fenway Frank.
You know, I'm a horse bettor. Do you know that?
I did not know that. I would not be able to tell that from just looking at you.
I grew up going to Arlington Racetrack.
You look more like a dog racer.
My grandfather was a degenerate. And,
Here comes Lucky.
And instead of having daycare and like taking care of me, he would take me to the racetrack.
Nice.
And he would.
What movie was that in?
He would.
Wasn't there a movie that was that?
Oh no, that's Parenthood, where they're at the Cardinals game and he pays the usher to watch him while he goes and gambles.
He
couldn't pay me to watch the current Cardinals.
He would give me the racing form and be like, "Hey kid, learn how to read it."
What movie would? There's a movie. You might have been in a movie.
Maybe. Hey, 4 furlongs under 50, 48 under 48 on 4 furlong and a practice run. Those are the horses you bet.
Okay.
Hank Goldberg.
Can't wait for May. Okay. So I got to do this I can't do it fully in a John Baylor voice. So I asked JB, give me some keys. Here's my text to him. So I said, hey, have a great call tonight, blah, blah, blah. And I think he'll come on tomorrow. If Nebraska wins, we'll get John on tomorrow.
Awesome.
So I said, give me a key for tonight that I can share on air. Yes, sir. Had some bourbon last night. It was great.
Hey, it's not bad.
Hey,
it's not bad.
I was able to bring Susan. Susan's down here with me. We're enjoying Louisville. We're at the Yum Yum.
That's not bad.
Wait till they go dueling Baylors.
We've been friends for like 30 years, so I've got him. So the problem with having John on the air with me is then I start talking like him. Yes, sir.
What are you saying, Harrison?
Garrister?
Yes.
He doesn't know, Jimmy. We'll let him know tomorrow. So this is what John said
gotta
for
win
keys for tonight. I said, toss-up match, Taylor Landfair and Merritt Beeson. If either hits 200 or higher, i.e. if either can get lots of kills, it's good night. We beat Wisconsin because Taylor turned our suffocating defense into 13 kills and hit 267. Harper Murray and Andy Jackson need to help terminating balls. Rebecca Alec has been a premier attacker of late as well. She, Taylor, and Merritt, the less defended attackers, are always key to championship runs. Those are the keys from the voice.
Love that.
The legendary voice since 1994. He has only missed a little bit more of late because he's a hell of a businessman. He's only missed 30 matches since he started doing Nebraska volleyball in 1994. When we sat on his porch on 27th and Van Dorn in the Baylor Casa, he's like, "Do you think I should do this? You think I should Nebraska volleyball? Do you think I should do this?"
That's awesome.
So those are his keys for tonight, 8:00 against Penn State, where it almost feels like winning should never be taken for granted. Winning is hard. It would almost to the point be a jolt if Nebraska volleyball didn't make it to Sunday. I'm not saying when you get to Sunday, then you got to win the national title or it'd be a hell of a jolt. It would be a letdown. But Pittsburgh, who I think will beat Louisville, is really, really good. It would be a jolt, I think, if they were not playing on Sunday. It'd be a jolt to KTV sales staff because it's 2:00 on ABC.
What do you mean? What jolt in what way? Like
they didn't play for the national championship.
Sad.
Everyone would be sad.
Jolt isn't sad.
A jolt, yes.
Now that I know JB would come on tomorrow, I'd be
Okay.
really sad.
I got you.
Yes, sir. We'd be coming home
I got
early.
you. I thought you meant I
know what
my
you
bad.
By
Yeah,
4:00 tomorrow, I'll be teaching an on-to-college prep class. Thinking
Okay,
about what
funny
it'd be like
story.
to be at the Yum Yum Center.
Funny story. My sister studying for the ACT. My parents go ahead and they're looking for an ACT tutor.
John Baylor.
And I wasn't home during it. And they're like, yeah, we found this ACT tutor and like it's going okay. I go, I know a guy.
John Baylor on to college.
I know a guy. I have John Baylor. The first time I ever met him was a Nebraska Broadcaster Association award ceremony. I did win. No big deal.
Congrats. Shout out, Matt.
You know that we're a Marconi station? Or at least we tell people we are. I don't know if that's true or not, but continue on.
Shout out, Marconi.
I got a card from John Baylor. Held on to it the rest of the way. Never lost it. Never lost. Got his business card. Never lost it. Kept it in there, nice and tight. It's in my old wallet, not my new wallet, but I still hold on to my John Baylor ACT prep business card like I hold on to my dear life.
He is the best.
Do you want to know the hotel they're staying at? Or do you already know?
Is it? So I mean, go ahead.
It's the New York Hilton, Midtown Manhattan.
Ooh, it's really to do the sports reporters. Oh no, that was Marriott Marquis.
Hold on. So I just want to confirm this.
I think it is.
So
it is
where the gentleman was shot and killed.
Yes.
Out in front of. That's where Nebraska football is staying.
You can take pictures.
It's outside of Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan.
Already profiting.
That's where they're going to be at. Doing a lot of sightseeing over in New York. Do you think
that thing on the news?
Do you think
right there.
prices went up or went down for the New York Hilton in Midtown?
Well, okay. So the hotel is sold out, so you can't stay where Nebraska is staying.
It's pricey.
Right there on. It's not, and it's also not like a. I mean, I know you know, it's expensive. It's not like it's a great hotel. It's just not. It's not.
You've been there?
I know people that have stayed there.
Okay.
It's.
For New York, yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
I can give you. Hey, if you want a good hotel, it's in Chicago.
The Drake. John Voight taught me that.
Drake's okay. The Drake's good. I love the Four Seasons. Four Seasons is a great hotel. The W is always a great stay. The W.
So Nebraska stay there. The whole hotel is sold out. Let me just go to, like, if I wanted to stay there tonight, I want to see what my rates would be.
There's what's a famous hotel you can stay in New York?
Queen room looks like it's the size of this studio.
Not bad.
$400, not bad.
Hey,
it's not bad.
That's dude.
Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
What's the typical hotel rate for a Nebraska Cornhusker home game
in Lincoln?
Yeah,
depends on which hotel, but they are going to make some money off our out of towners.
Yeah, good to know. I know that for graduation, getting those hotels was something. That was an adventure. Not too far off from
the general manager, Mr. Bussman, says the rooms are a dump at the Hilton that Nebraska is staying at.
Tickets on sale now.
Talk about cutting budgets.
No, that's set up by the Pinstripe Bowl, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so they have 2 designated team hotels, and they place you in those locations.
That's funny.
The Rate Bowl sends you to some resorts in Scottsdale.
Oh, I would much rather be, dude. Arizona's awesome.
81 today in the greater Phoenix.
It's a dry
metro
heat.
area.
It's a dry heat.
You don't even feel it.
It's a dry heat. Not as humid.
Had a great time last year taking a car with no driver.
Not as humid. You don't care. Do you do well in dry heat? Because you don't sweat?
I love heat.
Is that your perfect weather? 81 degrees?
I mean, I don't know that I can tell the difference. I mean, I know dry heat. Like, there's nothing like South Florida swamp ass heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like that. I like it when it's warm.
Someone who lived in Houston felt.
All right. So, Nebraska staying in a hotel that
guy got shot at.
Well, he not only got shot, he got murdered. And it's all over the news.
Yes.
But that should not impact how you look at the line and betting on the Nebraska-Boston College game. All right, Saturday has a chance to be one of the all-time great football watching days.
Yes.
So when you get up early in the morning at 11 a.m., you've got SMU at Penn State. Check the forecast. They might not have a sellout, by the way, at Penn State.
Yeah.
They might have 20,000 empty seats. The students are on break. And also, you got to remember here.
It's hard to get to.
It's also close to Christmas. Mm-hmm. So they may only have 75,000 at Penn State.
Where did you find this?
The internet.
On Penn State, people that cover them talking about. Yeah. The The weather looks okay.
It's only going to be 31. What do you mean?
It's a dry cold.
Well, you got to remember, students are gone.
Well, you know what? They tried.
Students are gone. It's
Did you
close
see
to
that on
Christmas.
Twitter that they tried to backdoor students too? They told them, oh, like all the students who want to go will be able to go, and then they asked the student section to sell more tickets.
Yep.
That might have something to do with it too.
11 a.m. SMU at Penn State. Noon, the Texans and the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. I imagine he's going to play, or at least try to play.
Are they what they are?
He's going to give it a go. He's going to practice probably for the third straight day.
Let's look at the standing. So they're currently 2 games ahead of the Bills.
Yeah, we need a bye. We haven't had a bye in a while. That's a big deal.
So if you get to 14-1, and then the Bills lose their game, and they play, they're not going to lose. No, you know what? I think the Bills are going to win out because they play Patriots, Jets, Patriots to end the season. So they're going to go 14-3.
Aaron Rodgers looks like he's revitalized.
So you got to win 2 of the next 3, which is what you can do. You can do that.
3 o'clock, Clemson at Texas. Also, the game, the
tickets available in Austin too.
Then, so 3, Clemson at Texas.
Okay.
3:30, Steelers, Ravens. Steelers are a little decimated, but they've been able to, for the most part, they've had Lamar Jackson's number, which Lamar Jackson, I know there's fatigue. Lamar Jackson needs to also get some run as NFL MVP.
Thank you.
But that leads into Tiger and his son are playing this weekend on NBC, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. They got the over at is it in Jupiter or is it in the Bahamas? Where's it at this year?
It's at a warm place.
Yeah.
And then at 7 o'clock is Tennessee at Ohio State.
Wow, you missed a game. You're not going to want to see the North Dakota State Jackrabbits take on the North Dakota State Bison, or South Dakota State Jackrabbits take on the North Dakota State Bison.
I will be watching that game, but I don't think nationally, if you are watching in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, you're probably not going to tune into that.
I know, I'm making a joke. But I
Miss
will.
a hell of a game at the Fargo.
I will say this: that game will be on a screen somewhere for me.
I think I might pull a Kevin Harlan, watch 2 games at one time, and call 2 games at one time.
Hey, what game? So all those games you just named them. Which one are you most excited to watch?
Oh, Tennessee, Ohio State.
Yeah,
because I want to see if Michigan beats Ohio State twice and see how tight the sphincter is for Ryan Day.
How many Tennessee fans?
Is there I think the hot seat talk about his job is a bunch of baloney. But if they are to lose to Tennessee, do you think that heightens?
We'll see who's available.
It's a good point.
Thinking about Ohio State, they still have a lights-out defense post-Oregon.
They still have, that's the one thing. I mean, it's not as if Ohio State has played an Indiana schedule. They still have good wins.
I think, and I like Ohio State in that game. I think the most likely underdog to win on Saturday, SMU.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
I do too.
Eric Dickerson.
Give me some Jennings, man. The only thing I worry about is, like, Warren could have a big day for Penn State because SMU in the ACC doesn't see tight ends that can do what he does.
Sure.
But
man, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to make
Franklin in big games at home, cold weather. You're supposed to win because they don't sell coats in Dallas.
Hey, 4 years from now, Tyler Warren will be the best tight end in the NFL.
He's good.
I believe that.
He got a lot of third place votes for the Heisman.
I believe that. I believe that with every bone in my body. That guy, and I've watched about 5 games of theirs this year real closely. His flexibility and multiplicity within that lineup is something to behold. The guy is big and strong, but man, can he move? He's got good hands too.
Kelsey's replacement.
And that'd be he's got, I don't even think Tyler Warren's going in the first round right now.
Well, let's look on your website there. NFL mock draft database.
He is, I got him. He is going into, wow, he is. He's in the first round now. He wasn't a couple of weeks ago. Last Bleacher Nation and CBS has him at 23rd to Denver. Oof. As high as number 8 to the Jets.
Aaron has a question for you with your statement about Tyler Warren, and I like Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
What'd you say, 4 years from now?
4 years.
Brock Bowers or Tyler Warren?
So that's it. It's Bowers, it's Warren, and if Laporta can bounce back and have a similar year to what he has last season, that's your new wave of NFL tight ends.
All right, Brian Edwards, who's got a big bowl game tomorrow with a possible 2025 Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback for his beloved Gators, who also might be turning into a basketball school. He'll join us next with picks for the weekend on 1620 The Zone. All right, this is like Christmas Eve for football fans with the slate on Saturday that we just documented. The start of the playoff, it kicks off tonight with the Chargers and the Broncos. You mix in a little basketball. You are in heaven. Brian Edwards, the senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com, who is all kinds of full of content on his Twitter account, Vegas B. Edwards, joins us now. Good morning, B.
Good morning, gentlemen. Early Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Merry Christmas to your unbeaten basketball team at the University of Florida.
Yeah, had them pretty big the other night, and never a doubt, right? No, I'm kidding. Good comeback by North Carolina in the second half, but Florida responded down the stretch, much to my delight.
Let me ask you quickly here about let's, because this is, we always talk Florida with you. You like tomorrow? I mean, you have a quarterback, and you have a season that has kind of turned around. You have a quarterback that's being mentioned for the 25 Heisman, but is on display tomorrow in a bowl game.
Yeah, I do like the Gators tomorrow. I bought the half point from 11.5 to 11, which I consider a key number. So Tulane, they finished the year with a dud regardless. I mean, they lost by double digits at home to Memphis as a double-digit favorite, and then they got spanked 35-14 at Army. Since then, their star quarterback, Darian Mensah, who had a 22-6 TDI-NT ratio this year, he's transferred to Duke. Now, Ty Thompson, the backup who was a transfer from Oregon, he's going to get his first career start. He's hitting the portal too, but he's sticking around for the bowl game. He's a dual threat guy, but Florida's defense played great down the stretch. I mean, if you look at their season numbers, they're still garbage, but against LSU, they only allow 16. They only allow 17 to an Ole Miss offense that's super dynamic, and then they only allow 11 to FSU. And Tulane's run defense, they give a 335 on the ground to Army, 236 to Memphis, 215 to K-State early in the year, 182 to Oklahoma. And Florida's running game has been really good down the stretch, especially getting Montrell Johnson back, and Jaden Ball, the freshman, has really emerged as a stud. And, you know, I think we've got the quarterback advantage. I think we have the location and motivation advantages in that Florida did not go to a bowl game last year and is motivated, you know, to finish this year strong as they have been doing. And obviously the game being in Tampa. So, I'm also probably betting a little bit, a lot less, but a little bit on Florida minus 6.5 in the first half, but 11 for the game is the bigger play.
Alrighty, Brian, we got a hell of a slate of college football this weekend. The week that everyone, it feels like, for a year now, we've been waiting for this first round of the 12-team playoff to see who's going to enter into the semifinal or to the quarterfinal and the semifinal and whatnot. So out of these games, and there's a lot to choose from, and most of the lines are pretty close. What do you think your best pick is here for the college football playoff slate?
So that's a great question, and I'd normally be able to readily answer it with a certain one that I really like a lot. But the honest answer, and which I'm always going to be honest,
sure,
is that none of these 4 CFP first-round games are like big plays for me. I would probably say that pregame, I probably like Clemson the most. I'm on Clemson plus 12. I just think that they're going to be able to score enough to keep this close. Clemson's not nearly as salty on defense as they have been over the last decade, but they can score. And Texas, their last 6 as a double-digit favorite. They're 2-4 against the spread, and one of the spread covers was against Florida with a third-string quarterback making his first career start on the road. So they have not thrived as a double-digit favorite. Now, Indiana has been super good to me this year. I'm 7-2 against the spread, backing them for the game, but I've had them in the first half a lot, and I think I'm 7-0 or 6-0 in the first half with them, because they did cover in the first half against Michigan, and I didn't take them in the first half against Ohio State, which was one of my the 2 losses were when they played Michigan and Ohio State for the game, but I didn't play them in the first half as a dog against Ohio State, and they covered the first half against Michigan. So they've been an ATM machine for me. But I think the number's a tad high. But what I want to happen, I want Notre Dame to score early, get a 7-0 lead or a 10-0 lead, and get Indiana at a number I want. Like, I want Indiana as a double-digit dog, not +7. So I'm hoping Notre Dame gets a lead, and if that happens and I can get Indiana at a better number, that'll be a bigger play for me. You want me to just keep going here to the other games?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Tennessee plus the 7.5. You know, I don't think either team has looked that great lately. Yeah. Now, it was impressive after Vandy jumped all over Tennessee early. The way they rallied once they, the last 3 quarters, what they played at Vandy was impressive. I mean, it was more impressive than what Texas was at Vandy and what Alabama was at Vandy. And look, it's going to be super cold. And I think Dylan Sampson, 1,485 rushing yards, 22 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry average. And at the end of the day, handicapping Ohio State, Tennessee, I know Nico can kind of be all over the place at times, but I give the quarterback advantage, Nico over Howard. And then I give a decided head coaching advantage, Heupel over Day. And let's think about this. If Tennessee gets off to a good start, man, that crowd might turn on Day.
Sure.
So home field might not be as important. And then in the other game, I'm okay with Penn State in a money line parlay or a teaser. I'm not going to lay the big number, but I'm pretty confident Penn State, wins by at least 3. So I think you're safe money line parlay or teaser with Penn State. But I may not do anything pregame on that one.
Any other bowl games here that you're also looking at?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia Southern today. So Sam Houston has had 19 guys hit the portal. Georgia Southern's only had 3 hit the portal. And now, listen, we saw the Western Kentucky quarterback who had hit the portal. He played anyway yesterday.
Yeah.
I've tried, like, of the 19 guys for Sam Houston, there's quite a few of them are important players, including their leading receiver, Simeon Evans. I've done Twitter searches on the guys that I consider important. There's no information out there. I have no idea who might or might not be playing, but I'm going to go with Georgia Southern. But again, man, these MAC and Conference USA and the Group of 5 teams, it's hard to find, information on these guys because some of these guys could be hitting the portal but playing, like Ty Thompson, the Tulane quarterback, hitting the portal, but he's playing tomorrow. Like I said, the Western Kentucky quarterback. But I'm guessing most of these 19 aren't playing, and that's one of the main reasons I'm going Georgia Southern -4.5 today.
All right, we'll move. We'll go from college football to the NFL, Brian. And we got some games on Saturday. We got some games on Sunday. I mean, what are you looking at? And once again, I'll just always go because I love getting your best picks here. What do you think your best play is for this weekend NFL slate?
Yeah, I've usually got a lot of NFL plays ready at this point, but I've really only got one right now. I'm gonna go Bengals team total over 27.5 at home to Cleveland. The Bengals have scored at least 27 in 6 in a row. Now, twice it was 27 where I would lose by the hook, but the other ones they've scored 37, 38, 34, and 41.
Okay.
They average 28.5. The Browns have a good defense, but I don't think they're going to get as much help offensively with DTR. And they did give up 41 at Denver and 35 at New Orleans. And again, 27 at Pittsburgh, which would be a half point short. But those are their last 3 road performances defensively. I just trust Burrow and the Bengals. I think they get to at least 31 for team total over 27.5. And the others, I'm just waiting. There's a lot of injury information that's not out there yet. But I will tell you, my Eliminator League that I think I've told y'all, I'm down to 11.
Yeah.
Wow. Out of 1,000. I'm one of 11 from 1,552, going for 23K. But for 3 weeks in a row, nobody's lost. I'm going to go Green Bay this week. But everybody in the pool except for 2 have Green Bay, so it might be 9 of us on Green Bay.
Ooh.
But I can't trust the Falcons with the way they're playing, so I got to do Packers.
I love that, man.
Good on you, lasting to week 15.
Wow.
It's good on me for now.
We don't want to jinx it. My eliminator was done in week 4, Brian, and I got down to the last 10. That's crazy. I mean, how many people are in this thing?
1,500.
Wow.
Nicely done.
It's not Circus Survivor. I'm not going for millions here, but it's a nice prize.
Hey, fantastic stuff. We appreciate it. Always have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy your Gators. Hey, have you started capping some college basketball as well? You got any trends you like?
So I was on a hot streak until last night. I went 1-2. I lost on Bama and Memphis, where Virginia got a layup there in the last second to beat me on Memphis. I had a winner I had Oklahoma. It was kind of a fortunate winner. The night before, I had the Gators for the game in first half for winners, and I went 3-1 on Monday. I think I'm like 5 games over 500, but I've been treading slowly, but starting to get into it.
Great stuff. Have a wonderful holiday, and thanks for your help as always, and enjoy the Bulls.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian Edwards. You can follow him on Twitter at Vegas B Edwards. Lots of great content there. Did I already ask this question to you guys? If there's going to be an upset underdog win straight up.
I'm going to go with. I'm going to honor the bet. I'm going to go with Indiana.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to be on your side here for this, but I'm going to ride with Indiana. I'll join you. I'll join you on the SIG train.
Wow. I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
SMU.
Gosh, I
like a book.
I like Jennings, man. I think he'll be able to make plays.
Did you see the
Rhett Lashley is
Rhett
I'm
Lashley
all in
will be
on
the next coach at
SMU, man.
Oklahoma
I think SMU being a power is going to be scary.
Yeah.
They got a lot of cash.
Mm-hmm.
They got billionaire boosters, man. The rich alumni, They are in the Metroplex, and they bought their way into the ACC.
They've been waiting for this.
They're dangerous, man. You see the Williams and Aller side-by-side comparison of like their stats this year. They're nearly identical. It's crazy.
I want to watch Pony XS.
And it's James Franklin in a big game.
I think I'll say this. I think it's by far the most underrated game on the card.
Yep. I said underappreciated. I like that. Underrated.
Underrated. I don't think enough. I'm going to get up early enough to really lock in for the game. I mean, like this is
11.
Starts at
I know. I was there once.
11.
I know. Hey, I sleep till 2, man.
Hey, my first radio job was in Mountain Time.
You don't think this has been the worst week ever, the worst 2 weeks ever, waking up at 4 a.m. every single day?
But how good does that nap feel at 11:30?
Oh my! Well, I don't get home
Especially
till
on a
12.
gloomy day.
But man, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Back-to-back days, 4-hour naps.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll
to
learn.
back.
You'll learn. You'll pace yourself.
That's like a COVID
You understand the room, all of those kind of things.
I'll say this. I'm going to put a timer on today. I'm only going to go 2 hours.
Yeah, you got to be up by 8.
Yeah.
Got to be up by 8.
Yep.
All right. Nebraska volleyball tonight.
Be awesome.
Against Penn State. It's the difference between having John Baylor on the radio tomorrow and not.
They got to win.
I don't think I've asked him yet, but he'll come on.
I might have to go buy a damn shirt today.
All right.
Volleyball specific.
And maybe there's a portal moving and shaking in Lincoln.
Ooh, little teaser.
But it may not be the one you want.
Teaser,
may not be the one you
little Gary Sharp tease.
All right, crossovers coming next. We'll tickle and tease Connor Happer.
Got Joey today. Be fun.
Oh, Joey! Bag of donuts. You get that right?
I got that's a good one.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow at 6.